In this doomsday era that overturns everything, even half a bottle of Tinko urine can be sold at a sky-high price of 10 million. Neighbors are rushing to buy ice water as a gift, and women are scrambling to get married. All this is because of the global doomsday game. Every month, the Earth will face a new doomsday disaster. Humans are randomly given a shelter, and each shelter has a unique talent. While others are still risking their lives to go out and collect resources to upgrade their shelters, you have already built your own shelter into the world's strongest fortress. Even better, you also got a bonus S-level combat beauty, and you talk about life in the shelter every day. And all this is thanks to the Otaku's home talent shelter you got. As long as you stay in the shelter for a day, you can get a survival reward that is most needed at the moment. In this doomsday game where everyone is in danger, survival has become a tense and exciting challenge. At this time, a cold mechanical voice sounded again in everyone's ears. In 10 minutes, the first round of doomsday disasters will come. The disaster theme is extremely hot, and the hot climate with a minimum temperature of 60 degrees is spread all over the world. Please carefully check the properties of your shelters, try your best to collect resources, and ensure that you can survive. You heard the prompt, your heart tightened, and you quickly ran to the window. Looking at the street, you saw that the outside was in chaos. People swarmed in like headless flies, rushing into supermarkets and convenience stores on the street to grab the last resources. The self-employed bosses hurriedly pulled down the shutters, but to no avail, and the chaos continued to escalate. You took a deep breath and tried to calm your trembling body. Time is running out. There are only 5 minutes left before the end of the world. It is obviously too late to go shopping now. The lowest temperature of the first round of disasters is 60 degrees. Without refrigeration, I am afraid you will not survive for a few days. Moreover, now that technology has failed, the city's water system will also have great problems. You try to calm yourself down, and various survival experiences flash through your mind. In the current situation, each of us should be in our own home, and our home is a refuge. You whisper to yourself, trying to calm your mind. Use all your survival experience to determine what to do next. Oh, right, get some water first. You suddenly reacted and started to act immediately. You took out all the basins and bottles in the house and quickly filled them with water. Then, you kept slapping your cheeks with cold water, trying to moisten your skin while there was still time. You glanced at the time and your heart sank. There is only 1 minute left. You know that what you have done is just a temporary solution. If the global temperature exceeds 60 degrees in 1 minute and all human technological means fail, you will not be able to survive no matter what you say. You take a deep breath and say to yourself, I can only rely on the shelter talent. You raised your head, took a deep breath, and spoke in a deep voice to activate the shelter talent. Ding, congratulations on getting the shelter talent Otaku's home. SS-level home for Otakus. Every 24 hours you stay in your own shelter, you will randomly receive a survival reward that is most needed at the moment. When the shelter is upgraded, the effect of this talent will also be improved. What? SS-level shelter talent. You were stunned on the spot, and then you were immediately surprised. Staying at home will get you a reward, and it is the most needed reward. So isn't it just giving you what you need? Damn, then why do you bother with this? Isn't this talent just letting you win in the doomsday? However, you still need to wait until tomorrow to verify the specific effect, and you have done everything you can do now, so you can only pray that you can hold on until tomorrow. Before you finish your murmurs, you suddenly feel a heat that makes you feel extremely hot. You quickly turn your head and look out the window, only to see that the originally blue sky has turned red, and endless heat waves are flowing into the house through the open window. Instantly, the temperature in the room is as hot as an oven. Oops, I forgot to close the window, and the first round of doomsday has begun. Your face changed, and you rushed to the window. Just as you reached out to pull the curtains, you were burned by the steel bars on the security window. Fuck, it's so hot. The temperature is rising too fast. You delayed for a while, just in time to see the shrill screams and pleas coming from the previously chaotic streets. It's so hot. I'm going to die of heat. What kind of weather is this? Who can help me? I feel dizzy. I think I have heat stroke. Many people who have not had time to return to the house are sweating profusely in the heat, and they are frantically looking for shelter. Above people's heads was the sun, which had suddenly grown much larger and was spreading endless heat wantonly. There were also thin people on the road who could not bear the heat and fell down softly, showing signs of severe heat stroke. But now no one could rescue these weak people, and everyone was running home frantically or looking for nearby buildings to shelter from the sun. You pulled the curtains to wrap your palms, gritted your teeth to close the window, and then pulled up the curtains. The temperature in the house dropped a little. Although it was still hot inside, it was slightly better than the furnace-like environment outside. The Doomsday had only just begun for a few minutes, and you were already sweating profusely. Your body was losing a lot of water, your lips were chapped, and your head was starting to feel a little dizzy. Your body felt inexplicably tired, and your heart also felt unreasonably irritable. You soon realized that it was just a sign of rapid dehydration. You didn't dare to be careless and quickly stripped yourself naked, then drank a bottle of water, and then went to the bathroom to soak yourself in the bathtub. The extremely hot earth temperature made this tank of ice water continue to heat up. If you keep soaking in it, will you cook yourself directly after all? The disaster information said that the minimum temperature was 60 degrees, but it didn't say that it wouldn't get higher. The oppressive feeling of heat and dryness made it difficult for you to stay calm. You really wanted to think of some ways to break the situation, that is, to increase your chances of survival, but for the current situation, this is too difficult to do. It seems that you can only wait for the effect of your talent tomorrow. You soaked in the bathtub for a long time before getting up wet. But before you walked out of the bathroom, the water droplets on your body evaporated. Feeling that your body was a little better, you went to the kitchen to replenish your energy. After all, in such hot weather, some things will go bad if they are left for a long time. You picked out the food that is not easy to store at home and swallowed it with a scalding taste. Try to slow down your movements when eating so that your physical strength can be lost more slowly. During this process, you can hear people shouting outside the house and on the floors above and below from time to time. You can't hear clearly, but you can feel the despair and hardship in these shouts. It is difficult for the human body to adapt to the sudden change of high temperature. When the doomsday comes suddenly, many humans with insufficient stress resistance will inevitably panic and even have a heart attack on the spot. Extremely hot temperatures can make people anxious, stressed, and unable to calm down. In order to avoid excessive mental stress, you keep drinking water while taking out a pen and paper and start thinking about the current state of the living environment. If the talent is effective, then I can get the first reward at noon tomorrow. According to the effect of the talent, what am I most in need of at present? Pay attention to your supplies and ponder slightly. The first round of disaster is heat, and the corresponding heat is too fast to lose water. In theory, what I lack most is drinking water, but if I look at the supplies I have now, food and drinking water can still last for a few days, which is not the most urgent resource. Compared to drinking water, I actually lack food more. After all, food will spoil faster in a hot environment. So the reward tomorrow at noon will most likely give me some food or water. Kevin Sue looked up at the ceiling, a little confused. But how will the reward be given to me? Will it fall directly from the sky? Kevin Sue didn't know. All he could do was wait. Of course, in addition to looking forward to the talent of the shelter, Kevin Sue cares more about whether the existing human order on Earth still exists. Apart from anything else, as far as the human order system of the Chinese land is concerned, as long as there is any possibility, it will resist the disaster without leaving any room. Can it be done this time? Kevin Sue didn't know. He could only continue to endure the heat and kept reciting the time in his heart. 8 hours later, night fell. Kevin Sue could occasionally hear signs and sounds of human activities on the street. Many people took advantage of the night temperature to go out of the shelter to find food, but he still didn't wait for any official rescue news. Human technology is completely ineffective, and with the sudden disaster, will it really destroy all countries in the world? Even if there are still people organizing rescue, I'm afraid it will be a drop in the bucket in a short time. After all, next month will be a new disaster crisis, and all human beings in the world have become toys. Kevin Sue closed his eyes and lay on the bed. After a night of thinking, he had completely figured out his current situation. Instead of relying on others, it is better to rely on yourself. How can I survive? At noon on the second day of staying at home, Kevin Sue lay drowsy on the bed. He suddenly raised his head and glanced at the wall clock, muttering, "The time has come. The talent reward of the shelter should be coming." Before Kevin Sue finished speaking, a translucent message box suddenly popped up in front of him. Congratulations on successfully triggering the shelter talent and receiving a random reward. Ice Water Maker D-Level. As the message box appeared, a white light suddenly bloomed on the floor in front of Kevin Sue. When the white light dissipated, an object similar to a large freezer lay in front of him. Kevin Sue was stunned for a moment and looked over. He could clearly see a line of small text descriptions appearing above the large freezer. Ice Water Maker, D-Level Shelter Item. It has a permanent cooling effect, a refrigerated space, and can automatically generate 10 servings of ice water every 24 hours. Drinkable ice water can effectively relieve human body temperature by 5 degrees for 2 hours. The ice water it generates cannot exceed 10 servings at the same time, regardless of the area. With the appearance of the large freezer, Kevin Su's shelter item information also added information about the ice water maker, and the comfort level of the shelter also changed from 1 point to 11 points. There really is a reward. Kevin Su took a deep breath, hurriedly walked to the large freezer, and slowly opened the door. Suddenly, a cold white air rushed towards him. The cool touch made Sui almost squint his eyes and almost shouted, "It's so comfortable." It was just like walking into an air-conditioned room in the summer afternoon. The feeling was so refreshing that it made people unable to breathe. Sui bent down and almost put half of his body in. While enjoying the cool feeling, he observed the contents of the freezer. There were 10 bottles of liquid and large beverage bottles in the freezer. Sui took out a bottle, twisted it open easily, and took a sip tentatively. You drank D-level ice water, obtained a 2-hour continuous state, and your body temperature decreased by 5 degrees. After a sip of ice water, Sui could clearly feel a cool feeling flowing through his body. His originally hot skin also calmed down, his pores slightly closed, and he no longer sweated profusely. It was much more comfortable. It was really a good thing. Sui sighed with satisfaction. This was indeed the most urgent material he needed at the moment. With this thing, the biggest survival problem in the hot extreme environment was solved. Don't worry about heat stroke or lack of water. Just when Kevin Su was about to continue studying the freezer, there was a sudden knock on the door. Dong 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 dong. The sound was urgent, as if it was knocking on the door. Kevin Su suddenly became nervous. His intuition told him that there seemed to be a group of people outside, and he didn't know what the purpose was. Sui narrowed his eyes slightly. He didn't respond to the knock on the door. Instead, he held his breath and stood still without making any sound. Even if it was his first time experiencing the end of the world, he probably knew that in the face of a huge disaster, people's hearts are unpredictable. Now that the world has collapsed and disasters are rampant, who knows if the group of people outside are villains? It's unwise to ask if the door is open. Is there anyone? Open the door quickly. We are the neighbors upstairs. Open the door. A man's rough voice came from outside the door, but from the voice, it sounded like a strong man, which made Kevin Su even more nervous. He slowly moved his feet and walked towards the cabinet next to him. There was a row of kitchen knives on it, which was also the most common self-defense weapon in ordinary people's homes. Damn, another empty place. Strange, according to what the voice said, everyone should have gone home, so there should be someone in this room. Brotherly, don't wait. Maybe the person inside has fainted from the heat, so there's no need to waste time. It's really unlucky, and another unlucky person is probably going to die. The crowd outside the door sighed in the discussion, and one of them kicked the door hard a few times to vent the depressed mood caused by the heat, and then the voice gradually faded away. From beginning to end, Kevin Su did not make any sound. Until the other party walked away, Kevin Su did not react, and stood there silently. After a full half an hour, Kevin Su carefully pulled out 2 knives, held them in his hands, and continued to look at the door silently. After another 2 hours, Kevin Su gently drank a sip of ice water to replenish his energy, tiptoed to the door of the room and looked outside through the cat's eye. There was no one. They had completely walked away, and no one came back to check. Kevin Su's accommodation. Who are they? And are they coming out in groups to look for survivors in this building? Listening to their discussion, it seems that they have checked many rooms and even saw dead people. Kevin Su thought in his heart, the information is limited, and he can't analyze too many things. But Kevin Su can be sure of one thing, that his shelter talent is really useful. As long as this is ensured, Kevin Su doesn't need to go out of his house at all. As long as he stays at home every day, he can easily survive the first month of the hot doomsday. Fortunately, I locked the door yesterday, otherwise if someone broke in and found that I had a freezer, Kevin Su looked back at his freezer and felt a little lucky. You can't be without a sense of defense. If this thing is discovered by someone, who dares to say that someone won't be brave enough to do evil? The world order has collapsed, and there is no law to protect people in the doomsday. Everyone can only rely on themselves and cannot trust others easily. If I want to survive, I must be extra careful. Kevin Su muttered in his heart. He moved all the tables and chairs in his house to block the door, and at the same time moved the refrigerator over. He placed all kinds of things that could block the door in front of the door in turn, and the main strategy was a tortoiseshell tactic. No matter how stormy it is outside, I won't go out anyway. In this way, even if someone wants to break in at night, it is estimated that they can't do it. Kevin Su wiped the sweat from his head and looked at the door blocked by all kinds of debris in front of him with satisfaction. As for the window, Kevin Su was not worried. He kept the curtains closed. In addition, There were anti-theft windows that were so hot that they almost melted. In this temperature, no fool would climb to the 6th floor barehanded to invade Kevin Su's home. This is something that humans can't do at all. After doing everything, Kevin Su began to move the food and drinking water in the house and put them all in the freezer. This freezer is very special. It has no electricity but can always cool efficiently. Kevin Su is not an engineering man. He doesn't understand the principle and can only try his best to use the value of the freezer. Fortunately, Kevin Su's reserve resources are not much, and a freezer can just fit them. After Kevin Su finished all this, he was already sweating all over. He took out some ice chips and ice from the freezer and threw them into the bathtub to cool down. He stripped naked and soaked in it, drinking the ice water while feeling the not-so-scalding hot water. Yeah, comfortable. Sui squinted his eyes and enjoyed it. And he was also thinking in his heart, my SSS-level shelter talent is really strong, but I don't know what kind of reward I will get tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. From this point of view, since my shelter has a talent, everyone's shelter should have a talent. In addition, I don't know how my parents are doing. It's a pity that there is no way to contact them now. Kevin Su sighed in his heart. Until now, he can only miss his parents and relatives and friends in his hometown from afar, but he can't know their situation. Just when Sui was feeling a little sad, a new reminder sound suddenly rang in his ears. Congratulations! All the people who heard this news are the lucky ones who survived to the next day. Here is today's latest Doomsday disaster report on Earth. The current number of surviving shelters in the world, more than 8.2 billion. Yesterday, more than 1.3 billion people on Earth lost their shelter. Today's disaster changes. The temperature will increase by 10 degrees, and the temperature will not decrease at night. Please try your best to survive. The data announced by the prompt tone made Suyi's expression change slightly. Raise the temperature even more. It's already so hot at 60 degrees. A lot of people will die at 70 degrees. Suyi's heart sank. The data of losing the shelter must be the death data. There are tens of billions of people surviving in the world, but 1.3 billion died on the first day alone, and more will die in the days to come. When the supplies in the house are exhausted or the disaster becomes increasingly severe, the most difficult period of survival for humanity around the world will come. What is the origin of this thing? Does it have to kill humans? Sui felt heavy in his heart, but soon a new reminder sounded. As a first-day survival reward, we will now open a communication platform for shelters in major regions around the world based on cities. At the same time, the trading sections of all major urban areas of the shelters are opened, and any shelter can freely trade any items and materials. Please note that the order transaction must ensure authenticity. If there is any fraud, the cheater will have 10 times the shelter supplies confiscated. Collective rewards? Divide cities into regions so that everyone can communicate and trade freely? This really is becoming more and more like a game. However, the cost of running this game is based on the lives of people all over the world. Sui raised his head and saw a new data panel, just like the online game chat interface that humans are most familiar with the Jinling City Shelter Communication Channel marked at the top. Below, information about various shelters kept scrolling and began to fill the screen in large quantities. Unnamed shelter. Hello? Is anyone there? Unnamed shelter. There are people there, but it's almost hot to death. Does anyone know what's going on? Is this really the end of the world? Unnamed shelter. It's already this late, and you haven't adapted yet? I have 2 liters of drinkable liquid for any food. I've put it on the trading platform. Anyone want to trade with me? Dalong number 1. Shelter, we haven't even been given a name yet? I can't even tell who's who. So how are your shelter talents? I'll give you a tip. I have a Class A shelter talent. I think I can survive. Wang Chunshin. Shelter, huh? Aren't we supposed to use our own names? I won't tell you about my talent because I'm afraid you guys are bad people. Unnamed shelter. It's already this late, and you're still hiding it. We humans must unite. Help the weak. Overcome the difficulties together. By the way, which big brother can help a weak person like me? My child hasn't eaten anything for most of the day, and he's almost out of water. Unnamed shelter. Mom. Dad. Where are you? I am a big bull. I am a big bull. I am a big bull. Unnamed shelter. Daniel, can you stop spamming? We are all dying of thirst, and you are still here looking for your mother like a tadpole? Sui silently observed the chat messages without saying anything. The chat messages are full of information about looking for people, asking for help, and making transactions. There are a few shelters that try to communicate with people about their talents and doomsday situations. It seems that these should be shelters with better talents and no pressure to survive for the time being. It is now the second day. From a rational analysis, although most people are panicked and frightened, they should be able to hold on. The real crisis of survival has not yet arrived. After Sui took a quick look for a while, he found that everyone was very cautious and did not say any useful information. Of course, there are also some people who claim to be officials who are making strong calls, hoping to unite the vital forces and redevelop the organizational capabilities of the Chinese people. But at this moment, no one can be sure whether there are any scammers here. After looking at it for a while, Sui opened the trading interface. This contains all the transaction information of Jinling City and the surrounding area shelters, covering all kinds of needs. Most of them are barter orders, and many are one-sided messages asking for help. Trading information. I have 1 liter of urine. It tastes sweet. Exchange it for food. No shit. Transaction information. 2 yuan version of a bottle of mineral water. Just easy to store food, 1.5 days of adult food. No knives accepted. Transaction information. A complete set of Ming Dynasty general armor for collectors, with saber and bow. A must-have for home in the Doomsday. Only 7 days of drinking water and food will be accepted. Trading information. My neighbor hoards grain. I hoard guns. My neighbor is my granary. I have a set of powerful crossbows, and I will give you 20 iron arrows. I will give you 5 days of food and drink. The content of transaction information is very large and is constantly increasing. It seems that there are still quite a lot of survivors in the Jinling shelter, but I don't know how many more I'll see in the next few days. Sui looked carefully and found that there were not too many valuable things in it. The various trading items were nothing more than food, drink, weapons, tools, and hard currency. Of course, there are people who sell gold bars and jewelry at high prices, but no one is interested. On the contrary, the orders for the sweet urine were all completed, and it was soon shown that the order had been successfully traded. Even urine is bought by people, but no one is interested in treasures. It is true that in times of chaos, eating and drinking are the most important things. Sui looked down at the half-full bottle of ice water in his hand and hesitated. Why don't I give it a try and put it up to see what I can sell? He still had a lot of ice water, so it didn't matter if he hung half a bottle up. Sui acted quickly and put half a bottle of water up for trade, and stated in the trading requirements that he only wanted food and weapons. At the same time, Sui made the information about this half bottle of water completely public, so that anyone could see it and know that it was a gift item of the shelter. This can fully demonstrate the value of ice water, and at the same time Sui is not worried about being exposed. After all, he was also in an unnamed shelter, which was equivalent to an anonymous identity. Just after Sui hung up the ice water, less than 2 seconds later, the reminder sounded. You have new order transaction information. Please reply as soon as possible.
Chapter 4, Doomsday Internet Celebrity Bing Shui.
Someone bought it so soon? Sui was surprised and opened the interface to take a closer look. Message from buyer, unnamed shelter. Hello. I would like to exchange 2 buckets of instant noodles for your ice water. Please agree to my transaction request. 2 buckets of instant noodles? Eat sparingly, it will last at least 3 days. Sui held his chin and did not reply to the message. He planned to wait a little longer. Anyway, the maximum duration of each order is 24 hours, so Sui has no worries about food shortage for the time being. What's more, with the existence of a trading platform, Sui can exchange ice water for food every day. In the scorching hot weather, nothing is more valuable than water. You have new order transaction information. Please reply as soon as possible. You have new order transaction information. Please reply as soon as possible. You have new order transaction information. Please reply as soon as possible. Several new prompts popped up in succession, which startled Sui, who quickly checked them. Buyer message. Buddy, are you there? Want to exchange an edible item? Message from buyers. If you exchange a large bottle of sweet liquid for half a bottle, you will definitely not lose out. Buyer's message. Want cigarettes? 3 packs of Huazi. I won't lose out if I buy you half a bottle. This stuff will definitely be a bestseller in the apocalypse. Buyer's message. Brother, the latest underwear of the beauty, absolutely fragrant. 7 strips of various colors. Hope you are satisfied. Sui was stunned. What kind of trading news is this? Apart from cigarettes and other normal things, the rest are all weird. There were even messages trying to seduce Sui remotely. What? Cyber seduction? It's already this time, and there are still 7 colors? Can this thing be eaten as a meal? Sui was too lazy to reply to these messages, but a large number of reminder messages kept ringing. Everyone is coveting the special effect of this half bottle of ice water, which can reduce the body temperature by 5 degrees. If used at a critical moment, this thing can be a powerful cooling artifact that can save lives. There are many smart people who know what is good, but they all hope to get a small bargain. Sui simply set the transaction category information to two major items, food and weapons. Any transaction information that does not belong to these two items will be automatically blocked and will not be disturbed. After doing all this, the number of harassment messages Sui received dropped rapidly. About 2 hours later, Sui saw an item information that caught his eye among a bunch of normal transaction information. Buyer's information, plant bread, D-level consumables, after consumption. It can provide the basic nutrients needed by the human body in a day, replenish the physical strength for a day's work, but you will still feel hungry. Brother, how about it? 2 magical breads in exchange for half a bottle. You will definitely not lose out. This information is very interesting. The buyer claimed that his bread was magical bread, and the message he sent was obviously a magical item like the ice water, a special product of the shelter. Trading the magic ice water for the magic bread is a win-win situation no matter how you look at it. To each his own. Sui quickly agreed to the transaction request and confirmed the transaction content. After a while, the reminder sounded. Ding! Your order has been successfully traded. As the prompt sounded, information about plant bread was added to the item information on the shelter interface. Sui muttered to himself, spread out his hands, and 2 small pieces of bread, about the size of a palm, appeared in his hands. This bread is wheat-colored and has an enticing aroma that whets your appetite. Above the bread, there is clear item information displayed, which is exactly the same as what the buyer said. Sui ate a piece without saying anything. It tastes good, a little sweet. Sui licked his lips with satisfaction. This bread smelled really good, and the texture was excellent. I wonder how many more breads like this guy has. Etc. Sui looked at the remaining piece of bread in his hand, and a light bulb went off in his mind as he suddenly realized a problem. My talent is to reward the most needed things every day. According to the first situation, the next reward is likely to be food. After all, in the current situation, drinking water and food are definitely the most important, but if I can exchange ice water for enough food, will be the second reward. Sui murmured. If I already have enough food, will the second reward change? If it changes, doesn't that mean I can control what the rewards are? Sui was surprised to realize that this might be the correct way to use his talent. Obviously, every human being in the world has a shelter. If humans want to survive the constant doomsday disasters, they must learn how to manage their own shelter. Sui immediately walked to the freezer, took out 5 bottles of ice water, and put them on the shelf. This time, he chose only food. In just 2 hours, a large number of trade requests came in, including ordinary food and magical food. Sui only picked some foods that were large in quantity and easy to store, such as instant noodles and biscuits. The main feature is more. The prices of the magic foods are too high. Although they are very useful, you can't exchange them for much. After selling 5 bottles of ice water, Sui got in return all kinds of dry food that filled the bathroom, with a very complete variety. Sui estimated that if he ate conservatively, he would have no problem lasting for most of half a month. This way, the food problem is solved. I'll wait and see tomorrow what kind of reward I'll get. Sui murmured. He had already thought of his own plan. Unless the sky falls and the earth breaks, then don't go out if you can. Make full use of your shelter talent and stay at home to get a lot of disaster resistance rewards first. It was a bit boring, but at least my safety was guaranteed. Sui was lying on the sofa, bored and browsing the chat channel of the Jinling area. The whole city is now without water and electricity, and mobile phones, computers, and other things have long been unusable. The only entertainment is to check the situation in the city and obtain intelligence information from the outside world through remote chatting. Sui's original intention was to spy secretly, but he didn't expect that as soon as he opened the chat channel, he saw people in most of the city calling him. Is Brother Ice Water here? Please support me with some ice water. The price is negotiable. Ice water, brother. Give me a few more bottles. I didn't get any just now. I can give you more food. At Bing Soigura, brother. I just risked my life to go to the supermarket to buy it for free. Please exchange it for a bottle of water. In the city channel, everyone was calling Brother Bing Shui, and Sui reacted. These people are calling themselves. They all wanted ice water. There are also some people who don't pay much attention to outside information, and they are curiously asking, what are you shouting about? Who is Brother Bing Shui? Are there still internet celebrities in the apocalypse? Brother Bing Shui is much more awesome than internet celebrities. Someone immediately explained. Several bottles of ice water appeared on the trading platform just now. Drinking that stuff can cool down the body. Just think about it. The temperature is going to rise. It's 70 degrees. If you have a bottle of ice water in your hand, It will definitely save your life at the critical moment.
Internet celebrity?
Can internet celebrities be compared with my brother Bing Shui? My brother Bing Shui is simply a saint. Brother Bing Shui, please, sell me another bottle. Ice water, brother. Ha! Ice water. I want, ice water. I feel like I'm dying. I'm hot and there are ants crawling on my body. Please, ice water, brother. Sell me another bottle. I'm feeling sick. Even half a bottle is fine. Sui took a breath of cold air. Humans are really crazy. There are many people who know the value of things. After exchanging information, everyone realized the key to ice water. But people couldn't call brother Bing Shui. He seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Only in the chat channel, some lucky people were showing off the ice water they bought, or reselling it on the spot to make a profit. Special ice water. Starting from 10 boxes of instant noodles. The highest bidder wins. Brother Bing Shui's ice water is now on the shelves, come with a lot of food. Or you can also get some gentle girl food. Ice water 1 sip version is now online. Personally tested. A small sip can also have a cooling effect. 1 sip special price 5 packs of instant noodles, or 5 bottles of ordinary drinking water. When Sui saw this information, he was shocked. Good job. The business instinct of the Chinese people. It's the end of the world, and yet you still don't forget to make a profit. The magical ice water kept some for itself and then sold some, which helped many lucky people to secure their early supplies. This also made Sui realize how valuable the ice water in his hand was at the moment. Damn, I lost money on this sale. Sui sighed, but he didn't plan to sell the remaining ice water just yet. Now I am the only one in Jinling who has cooling ice water. The 4.5 bottles on the market have not been sold yet. Putting them on the shelves will only make the price of the ice water lower. Wait a little longer, until they run out of ice water and they are at their wits' end. That's when my interest will be maximized. Sui was very calm. He didn't think there was anything wrong with what he did. At the end of the world, your own interests come first. What does the life and death of others have to do with me? Chapter 5 Chaos spreads. Crisis outside the door. Time flies, and soon it is 8 o'clock in the evening. The temperature did not drop because of darkness. The extra 10 degrees high temperature today made every breath people took at night feel like they were experiencing the feeling of grilled organs. Sui was also getting hot and irritable, constantly checking transaction information and area chats to pass the time. Until suddenly, bursts of voices were heard on the street outside the window. Is someone coming out? Sui quickly walked to the window, slightly opened the curtains and looked out. On the street at night, there were a few people holding candlesticks and simple torches, and they were walking out of the residential building where Sui lived. Hurry up, don't dilly-dally, it's terribly hot outside. Brotherly, can we really find something to eat? It's much hotter outside than inside. I feel like my throat is smoking. Even if you can't find it, you have to look for it, or you will starve to death. This is such a lousy weather. The temperature doesn't even drop at night. Several men in work clothes were complaining loudly. Windows on every floor of the building were open, and people were looking down. Brotherly? Sui's heart moved. Isn't this the man who knocked on the door during the day? Sui recognized the group of men, but he didn't know where they came from or where they were going. Sui was usually busy with work and hadn't seen many of his neighbors. I'm so thirsty. I remember there are several shops on this street. Let's go over and take a look. Have you brought all the equipment? Don't come back empty-handed like last night. Brotherly, we have brought all the things. Can we bring some more food to exchange for ice water later? It is said that the thing is very magical. Ice water? Humph, it's too expensive. Not worth it. We can just drink some normal water. The men talked to each other as they walked deeper into the darkness. Sui, who had been observing secretly, saw clearly that these men seemed to be holding weapons such as steel bars, kitchen knives, and homemade bows and arrows. In this hot doomsday, the enemy is high temperature. I'm afraid they have other intentions by carrying so many weapons. Sui murmured, and suddenly became alert. There must be someone in the shop. They are going to rob the shop. The high-temperature doomsday only brings about extreme changes in the climate, which disrupts the original living environment of human beings on Earth, but does not directly eliminate human beings. Compared to the unbearable hot temperatures, the most dangerous thing is between humans. The shutdown of cities around the world and the lack of all kinds of resources can easily breed the darkest side of the human heart. At this time, the more people do not follow the old rules, the more comfortable their lives will be. After a while, please spare my life. Please spare my life, husband. What have you done to my husband? Murder. Someone come quickly, murder. A A shrill scream suddenly broke the night sky. In the deep darkness not far from the street, one could clearly hear a man's screams and a woman's shrill cries, mixed with the cries of a child. In an instant, a tense atmosphere enveloped several nearby residential buildings. In the darkness, countless pairs of prying eyes silently watched the direction where the sound came from. About an hour later, Brother Lee and others were carrying large and small bags of supplies back, chatting and laughing on the way. "Brother, why don't you let me have sex with that woman? She's quite attractive." "What do you know? You need to conserve your energy. Doing that in such hot weather? Aren't you afraid of dying of dehydration?" "Alas, what a pity. I just touched it. But it feels really good, huh? Come on. Now we have food. Let's move it a few more times tonight so that others won't miss out." The men occasionally let out lewd smiles during their conversation and sounded very happy. Sui saw that many of them had fresh blood on their bodies, and the things on their hands also had red marks. They are indeed a group of dangerous people. Sui narrowed his eyes slightly. He was glad that he did not open the door during the day, otherwise he would have been alone and powerless when he encountered this group of people, and the freezer in his house would definitely have been stolen. This group of people should be banding together, but I don't know what their talents are. They adapted to the rules of the apocalypse very quickly. If I let them continue like this, I'm afraid they will dig me out sooner or later. Sui was thinking silently in his heart, and a feeling of uneasiness arose in his heart. These guys didn't break in today, but it's hard to say what will happen in the future. Once humans break free from their inner shackles, they can do anything, and are very likely to break into homes to rob and collect supplies. I must find a way to strengthen the shelter's defenses. I must be able to protect myself. Sui silently closed the curtains and sat in the dark to think calmly. Soon, he reopened the trading platform, put the 4 bottles of ice water on the shelves one by one, and changed the trading requirements to all effective means of self-protection in the shelter. Whether it is weapons, equipment, or anything else, as long as it can improve the safety of the shelter, Sui can exchange it. He even emphasized in the message, if you think the price is not suitable, you can leave a message to discuss it. As long as the item is good enough, it doesn't matter even if I have to exchange it for multiple bottles of ice water. After all, by tomorrow noon, the freezer will automatically produce 10 bottles of ice water. So Sui's ice water transaction is a completely no-cost business. Ice Water Brother is out again. A new order for ice water has appeared. 4 bottles are put on the shelf at one time. It is definitely Ice Water Brother himself. Let me take a look at the order. Oh, Brother Bing Shui is going to take defensive measures this time. His thinking is clear. Brother Bing Shui has enough food and drink now, and if he takes some defensive measures, he can basically rest easy in this doomsday. Damn it, I'm dying of thirst here. My neighbor's whole family has died, but Brother Bing Shui has already started thinking about the safety of the shelter. Humanity should unite and overcome difficulties together. I call on Brother Bing Shui to provide more ice water to everyone for free and be a great hero for the people of the city. There were some discussions about new ice water orders in the chat channel, but most of them were still requests for help and appeals from self-proclaimed saviors. On the night of the second day after the apocalypse, people had lost the novelty of their initial experience of the apocalypse, and all that remained was fear of the future. Resources are becoming increasingly scarce, and the temperature is becoming increasingly hot. People must face up to the fact that this is a truly deadly global horrific disaster. It is precisely because of the scarcity of resources that the ice water put on the shelves by Sui is particularly popular. The few bottles of ice water bought in the afternoon have been consumed. The new order for 4 bottles of ice water has attracted the attention of most of the surviving shelters in the city, and reply messages have been sent to Sui one after another. Sui looked through it carefully, spending an hour to carefully select what he wanted from the large amount of reply messages. In the end, Sui chose a set of small compound crossbows, equipped with 30 professional steel arrows, as well as corresponding maintenance tools and replacement parts, and instruction manuals. This thing is a strictly controlled item in peacetime, and its lethality is no less than that of a pistol. It was very valuable, and Sui finally successfully traded 3 bottles of water with the other party. He also exchanged the other bottle of water for an insulated jacket. These guys are so stingy. Each one is more cunning than the other. Although ice water is precious, it can only be exchanged for so many things. Sui took a deep breath. In the Doomsday, people were calculating carefully. Now that Sui has a thing, he feels a little more secure. He glanced at the door that he had blocked tightly and placed the crossbow next to his pillow, making sure he could get it in his hand the first moment before going to sleep. Sui also put on the thermal insulation jacket, but unfortunately the effect was not very obvious and he still felt stuffy. Now that I have food, water and weapons. What I lack is probably medicine. Sui lay on the bed, slowly thinking about his future survival plan in the dark. Tomorrow's ice water, try to change to some medicine, such as Huaxiang Zhengqi water or something like that. I don't know what tomorrow's reward will be. Now that I have the basic survival guarantee, will the reward be repeated food and water? Or something new? While thinking slowly, Sui fell asleep unknowingly.
Bang!
Don't come over here. I'll call the police. Help. Someone save me. Someone is going to kill me. Suddenly, a woman's shrill scream came from upstairs, waking Sui from his sleep. He quickly got up from the bed, picked up the crossbow swiftly, and looked towards the door vigilantly. The door was intact, and there was no one else in the house. After ensuring his own safety, Sui turned his gaze to the ceiling. This is an old neighborhood with poor sound insulation. Sui can clearly hear the loud noises of fighting coming from upstairs. There were men shouting and cursing, women screaming, and the sound of objects being smashed around in the room. What are you doing? Are you trying to harm anyone? Don't come over here.
Ay marmd, ah.
There was another man's scream, and it seemed that some brave guy was subdued. Is it Brother Lee's group? Sui's eyes were solemn as he thought in his heart. Judging from the situation in the past 2 days, only Brother Lee and his group seemed to be very combat-ready in this building. But no matter whether it was them or not, the current situation meant that someone in this residential building had already started searching around. Start with your neighbors, breaking into their homes and stealing supplies. The worst-case scenario at the end of the world is already unfolding, and the disorderly human population will become extremely chaotic and dangerous.
Sui vajtet nervosly in silanje.
An hour later, the noise upstairs gradually stopped. The perpetrators did not seem to have any new expansion moves, and they did not go downstairs to approach Sui's room. But Sui knew that the resources in just one room would definitely not be enough to satisfy this group of abusers. It won't be long before this group of people arrive at his door. I definitely can't avoid it. Sooner or later, I will confront this group of people. Sui felt heavy in his heart. He looked around and found that it was already bright outside the window. The sky outside was still red and the air was filled with twisted heat waves. The clock on the wall showed exactly 12 noon at this moment. Now is noon on the 3rd day of the apocalypse. Congratulations, you have stayed in the shelter for the new 24 hours, triggering the shelter's talent reward. Chapter 6 Recruiting Talents for the Shelter. Start the exploration mission. Congratulations, you have obtained the shelter's D-level talent recruitment ticket. As the mysterious voice sounded, a piece of light golden paper fell on the coffee table in front of Sui. Talent recruitment voucher? Is this my second reward? Sui picked up the paper and looked it up and down. There were only mysterious patterns that were incomprehensible and the words D-level recruitment on it. Apart from that, there was nothing unusual. Can each shelter recruit talents? Did the recruited talents appear out of thin air, or were they the rest of the human beings on Earth? Sui murmured. It really is becoming more and more like a game in which many people will die. Sui often plays games. Through the appearance of recruitment tickets, he gained a preliminary understanding of the current mechanism of the Doomsday shelter. If things go as expected, the mysterious being should be treating the entire Earth as a huge playground, and all human beings are players participating in this Doomsday game. Use. Sui held the recruitment ticket and confirmed its use. A bright golden light burst out from his palm, and then the golden light left his palm, floating in front of Sui and expanding, gradually condensing into a golden human form. Chapter 6 Recruiting Talents for the Shelter. Start the exploration mission. Congratulations, you have obtained the shelter's D-level talent recruitment ticket. As the mysterious voice sounded, a piece of light golden paper fell on the coffee table in front of Sui. Talent recruitment voucher? Is this my second reward? Sui picked up the paper and looked it up and down. There were only mysterious patterns that were incomprehensible and the words D-level recruitment. Apart from that, there was nothing unusual. Can each shelter recruit talents? Did the recruited talents appear out of thin air, or were they the rest of the human beings on Earth? Sui murmured. It really is becoming more and more like a game in which many people will die. Sui often plays games. Through the appearance of recruitment tickets, he gained a preliminary understanding of the current mechanism of the Doomsday Shelter. If things go as expected, the mysterious being should be treating the entire Earth as a huge playground, and all human beings are players participating in this Doomsday game. Use. Sui held the recruitment ticket and confirmed its use. A bright golden light burst out from his palm, and then the golden light left his palm, floating in front of Sui and expanding, gradually condensing into a golden human form. When the golden light dissipated, a short but bright-eyed young woman stood in front of Sui. It's a miracle. Sui was stunned. Even though he was mentally prepared, he was still shocked by this. The girl in front of me was less than 1.6 meters tall, about 20 years old, with ordinary looks, but bright pupils and a strong spirit in her gaze. Warrior Linyu, greetings to the leader. The girl saluted Sui in a loud voice, standing at attention with her chest puffed out and her head held high, looking very imposing. Warrior? Sui then noticed that she was wearing a camouflage combat uniform, which was covered with carefully designed pockets and accessories, fully functional and in line with human usage habits. Her combat boots are solid and stable, and the anti-slip texture design on the soles is non-slip and wear-resistant, providing sufficient grip in complex terrain. Linyu has a multifunctional tactical belt hanging around his waist, on which are mounted a pistol, magazine bag, flashlight, multifunctional knife, and other survival tools. Everything is in order and ready to deal with various emergencies at any time. Female soldier? Sui looked at Linyu with some surprise and asked, "Are you from Earth? Where are you from?" Linyu's face was firm and delicate, and he answered clearly without blinking his eyes. "Report to the commander. I am from Earth, and I come from the Chinese Special Warfare Zone. I have received the order. The end of the world is coming. The survival of mankind is at this moment. I have been ordered to protect the leader and obey his orders." Linyu's answer was clear and accurate, and it also allowed Sui to guess something. This might be the new human being created by the mysterious being based on the blueprint of the human beings on Earth. She naturally has the concept of loyalty to me in her memory and knows the general situation now. Sui thought silently in his heart. This is the talent of the shelter. This is really becoming more and more like playing a Doomsday management game. At the same time, a prompt sound rang in Sui's ears. "Congratulations on successfully recruiting D-level combat talent, Special Forces Soldier Linyu. You have successfully opened the talent information panel. You can check the status of all talents in the shelter talent module interface." As the prompt sounded, a talent item appeared in the shelter information in front of Sui. The population of the shelter also increased from 1 to 2, and the safety level also increased from 1 to 11. Sui clicked on the talent module, and Linyu's detailed information quickly popped up in front of him. Talent data information. Name, Linyu. Age, 22 years old. Type, soldier. Talent level, D level. Physical strength, 85. Neural response, 83. Endurance, 88. Mental will, 95. Self-healing immunity, 82. Talent characteristics. Loyalty: she is a loyal Chinese warrior and will never betray no matter what difficulties the shelter encounters. Talent: military basics. She is proficient in all conventional combat skills of modern soldiers and has a comprehensive proficiency in firearms and knives. She is also good at free fighting, reconnaissance, wilderness survival, and other military capabilities. Combat power rating, 105 points. A panel that was very similar to game data appeared in front of Sui, listing Linyu's personal information in detail. Linyu has a combat power of 105 points. Is this high or low? Sui thought about it for a moment, but soon came to the conclusion. She is definitely better than me anyway. Sui is just an ordinary office worker. When he has nothing to do, he likes to play games, read novels, and occasionally exercise. Given Sui's physical condition, it was impossible for him to beat a professional soldier, even if the other party was just a female soldier. "Sir, what do I need to do now?" Linyu looked at Sui with sharp eyes and asked in a clear voice. Linyu's face is firm and delicate. Her skin is slightly dark due to long-term outdoor training. Her short hair is neatly combed inside the helmet without a single mess. Her nose is high and her lips are tightly closed, as if all difficulties and challenges cannot shake her determination. This is a female warrior who can give people a sense of security. Even though Sui is a man, he still cannot refute this point. "Don't be in a hurry." Sui waved his hand and asked, "Are you hungry? Do you want to eat something?" There are many more detailed data that are not displayed in the talent interface, but Sui can conduct in-depth inquiries, such as hunger, disease, mental state, and other information. Obviously, the people in the shelter also need to eat, get sick, and may even develop mental problems under the high pressure of the apocalypse. "Not hungry." Linyu shook his head and said calmly, Commander, our situation is not good now. The supply reserves are seriously insufficient, and I cannot waste food. When I'm not in combat, I can eat only one meal for 3 days, and each meal only eats half the amount of food that an adult man would. Only eat half a meal in 3 days? Hiss. He is truly worthy of being a Chinese soldier. His endurance and stamina are simply inhuman. Sui gave a thumbs up, but before he could speak, a new mysterious prompt sound suddenly rang in his ears. Now for city area announcements. The shelters already have talents, and now the shelter exploration mission module is open. All shelters can send talents to carry out exploration missions to obtain more survival supplies. At the same time, the shelter level rankings, shelter talent rankings, and shelter exploration mission rankings are now open in this area. When this round of Doomsday ends, more survival rewards will be distributed based on the rankings on the leaderboard. This reminder is a city-wide notice. For a moment, the whole city was boiling, and the originally lifeless chat channel was suddenly in uproar. Unnamed shelter. What the hell is this? Opening exploration missions? Opening leaderboards? Why does this Doomsday game feel like a pay-to-win online game? Unnamed shelter. We are half dead here, and a mysterious being is watching us play games? Damn, I'm dying of thirst. I am a big shot. Which big brother recruited the talent? Is he strong? Can you help me contact my parents? Wang Chan. I looked at the rankings, and there is only one person in the talent ranking, which is the unnamed shelter. Unfortunately, I can't chat with this big brother privately. Jinling Human Self-Help Association. Call on this big brother to stand up. Join the Human Self-Help Association and contribute your own strength to the disaster victims in the whole city. The chat channel was buzzing with everyone discussing this matter. Some people speculated that this person was Brother Bin Shui. Some people stepped forward to pretend to be the mysterious number one, and some people were closely communicating about the exploration mission module. After observing silently for a while, Sui closed the chat interface, then opened the 3 rankings and took a look. The shelter level ranking list was a mess, with all the shelters at level 0. Sui saw that his own ranking was displayed as 35,164. The talent ranking list of the shelter is much clearer. Only Sui is at the top of the list, which means that he is the only one in the city who recruited talents for the shelter first. The ranking list for the shelter exploration mission is empty, with no one on the list. Sui closed the ranking list and opened the new exploration module of the shelter. Chapter 7 discovered by the mob. The crisis is imminent. Current exploration tasks automatically refresh daily. 1. Material collection. E-level exploration mission takes 8 hours. Some materials can be obtained randomly, and the task harvest depends on the talent score, talent level, and task level. A shelter talent needs to be dispatched. 2. Material collection. D-level exploration mission takes 12 hours. You can randomly obtain some materials for upgrading the shelter. The mission harvest depends on the talent score, talent level, and mission level. You need to send a shelter talent with a minimum of D. 3. Medicine collection. D-level exploration mission takes 12 hours. Some medicines can be obtained randomly, and the mission harvest depends on the talent score, talent level, and mission level. A shelter talent needs to be dispatched. There are only 3 exploration missions, each with different contents, but all require sending a shelter talent. This means that as long as there are enough talented people in the shelter, some survival supplies can be obtained without leaving home. Sui thought to himself, this is very safe. I don't have to go out and take risks myself. Even if I don't have enough food and water, I can send people to search outside. The emergence of the exploration mission was of great help to Sui. Due to the special nature of Sui's shelter talent, he must stay in the shelter for a long time without going out. Naturally, he cannot go out to adventure and collect supplies like other people. Although this is very safe, it also means one loses a channel to obtain supplies. After having talents, Sui can send them out to explore from home and get both talent rewards and exploration rewards at the same time. Double harvest means more supplies. Sui made a prompt decision and decided to give this exploration mission module a try. The question is, which of the 3 tasks should I choose? The rewards from these 3 tasks are what Sui needs, but he only has Linyu to use now. Try the 8-hour method first. It's shorter and more effective faster. Sui made a decision quickly, and he didn't dare let Linyu go out to explore for too long. After all, there are still perpetrators in this building, and God knows when they will discover this room. Sui picked the task, and Linyu responded instantly, I have received the task and I promise to complete it. Lin Yu saluted and was about to turn around and leave, but was stopped by Sui, etc. Sui took a look at the crossbow in his hand, hesitated for a moment, and handed the kitchen utensils to Lin Yu. Take a look and see if there are any weapons that you can use. Also, see if you can use this thermal insulation jacket. Bring some food and 2 bottles of ice water. It's very hot outside. Don't get heat stroke. Sui really wanted to give the crossbow to Lin Yu to improve her safety when going out, but Sui was also worried about the intrusion of the perpetrators, so he had to prioritize his own safety. Thank you, Chief. Lin Yu took the coat, picked out 2 fruit knives as backup, and patted her holster. She smiled brightly. Chief, don't worry. I'm very strong. I almost forgot. This woman came with a gun. Are there enough bullets? Sui asked, and Lin Yu nodded. It's enough. A submachine gun, 20 rounds capacity, and 3 magazines. 60 rounds of bullets. That's enough. Sui nodded with satisfaction. Go ahead. Be careful about your own safety, and don't force yourself for supplies. Yes, Chief. Lin Yu turned around with high spirits, walked to the door, and then stopped. Sir, this door. Lin Yu turned around and pointed at the large amount of debris piled up at the door of the room. Oh, I forgot. We used them to block the door earlier. Sui patted his head awkwardly. You know, I'm not good at fighting. I do this to ensure my own safety. The leader is smart and did the right thing. Lin Yu smiled and helped Sui clean up the door. Before leaving, Lin Yu worked in front of the door for a while with her head down. Commander, I have set up some crude defense traps and early warning devices. If you hear any noise outside the door, please be alert and wait for me to come back for rescue. After Lin Yu finished speaking, he walked down the corridor neatly and stepped into the rolling heat outside. When Lin Yu left the house, Sui closed the door without saying a word, moved the things back to their original places, and blocked the door. After all this tossing and turning, Sui was already sweating all over. His head was dizzy from the heat, and his body was shaking. He didn't care about anything else and rushed to the bathroom with his crossbow. He washed his head with half a bottle of ice water to cool down, drank another half bottle, then stripped naked and got into the bathtub. Only then did Sui feel that his symptoms of heat stroke had improved slightly. The weather is really too hot. It's so hot that it can kill people at home. I don't know what the situation is outside. I hope nothing happens to Lin Yu. He is the only talent I have in the shelter right now. All the ice water from yesterday has been used up, so I put 10 bottles of water in the freezer. I gave 2 bottles to Lin Yu and used 1 bottle, so there are 7 bottles left. Shouldn't these 7 bottles be exchanged for something better? Sui lay in the bathtub and opened the city area trading platform of the shelter. He took a quick look and found that there were some more magical items on it than yesterday. Most of them are food and water, but the prices are extremely expensive. It seems that it's not just my shelter talent that's useful. Other people's talents may not be bad either. Sui muttered to himself that he didn't find much worth buying. But considering that the value of ice water might continue to depreciate as good things become more available, he still spent 3 bottles of ice water to buy some long-lasting food. There are still 4 bottles of water left. Sui doesn't plan to use them for the time being and will wait and see in the evening. The afternoon was boring. In order to kill time, Sui took out all the comic books at home and read them over and over again. At around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, there were suddenly sounds of smashing, shouting, and cursing coming from upstairs again. Sui was somewhat accustomed to it this time and was not so panicked. He just listened for a while and checked every corner of the house to make sure it was well covered. I don't know how many people have been harmed by these thugs upstairs, and I don't know when it will be my turn. Sui thought to himself. No matter what, this will be a hidden danger sooner or later. For my own safety, I have to find a way to deal with this group of thugs. Let Lin Yu take a gun and kill these thugs? This is not appropriate. Although Lin Yu is a soldier, he is weak after all. If an accident occurs, Sui will suffer a great loss. The main thing is that I'm not sure what the other party's shelter talent is. I have seen someone turn on combat talents in the chat channel. If there is a person with fighting talent among the thugs upstairs, Lin Yu, a soldier, may not be his opponent. Just bear with it a little longer. Sui took a deep breath and decided to continue hiding. As long as the other party doesn't cause trouble for him, he will try his best to keep a low profile and accumulate strength secretly. At around 6 o'clock in the evening, Sui heard some messy footsteps coming from upstairs and could vaguely hear some scolding conversations. Damn, the weather is getting hotter and hotter. Bro, can you give me some of that bottle of ice water? Wait until you go out and see what you found. According to the rules, the person who finds the most can have a sip. Alright, big brother, watch me perform. By the way, brother, at noon I seem to hear a faint woman's voice downstairs, saying something like, Chief. Is there an official here? Being an official? It's the end of the world now. Being an official is useless. I'll come back later and find that woman to see what happened. The sound of conversation passed by Suyi's door and went all the way downstairs. Suyi stood by the window and quietly saw through the gap in the curtains a group of men dragging empty sacks out of the residential building. The leader was the group led by Brother Lee yesterday, but the team had grown a little, with the number of people increasing to 13. I seem to be being watched. Suyi muttered to himself that the sound insulation of the old residential building was extremely poor, and the noise of summoning Lin Yu seemed to have been noticed by Brother Lee and his group. This building has 8 floors, handrails and stairs, and 4 households on each floor. Since the surrounding facilities are complete, it is said that every household is occupied. Most of the people living here are office workers from nearby areas, and there are also workers from construction sites. Judging from their body shapes, they should be workers from nearby areas. Assuming that there is at least one person in each household, there are at least 32 people in this building. If the perpetrators are Brother Lee and his gang, taking into account the number of violence and the Doomsday death rate, there should be about 20 people left. Suyi silently calculated in his mind. I live on the 6th floor, so Brother Lee and his group can only be on the 7th and 8th floors above me. Considering the violence that had already occurred upstairs, Brother Lee and his men will search my place tomorrow or the day after tomorrow at the latest. If you're unlucky, you'll find me here at night. I don't have much time left. Suyi had a strong sense of crisis. Brother Lee had more and more helpers around him. Lin Yu alone might not be able to deal with the dozen or so strong men working on the construction site at the same time. If he considered using a gun, it might be able to deter the criminals. But if the other party had some difficult shelter talent, Suyi's chances of losing would be even greater. I still have to find a way to improve the shelter's defensive capabilities. If possible, I have to turn this house into a bunker. Suyi looked at his own gate, thinking about the possibility of letting Lin Yu, a woman, guard the gate. Time passes by little. At around 8 o'clock in the evening, it was already completely dark. Brother Lee's group hasn't come back yet. The street outside is completely quiet. Occasionally, there are voices coming out, as if the survivors around are coming out to search for supplies. Even though the temperature does not drop at night, it can give people a psychological illusion of getting colder. Darkness can also provide people with a good sense of security, so everyone seems to be accustomed to moving around in the dark at night. Suyi still stayed at home, silently without making any noise, while constantly searching on the online trading platform for things that could enhance the protection capabilities of the shelter. At this time, boom, boom, boom. There was a sudden knock on the door, which startled Suyi in the dark, and he quickly grabbed the crossbow beside him. Chapter 8 Brother Bing Shui, are you my comrade? In the darkness, Suyi held his breath nervously. But he soon heard that the rhythm of the knocking seemed to be different, with varying lengths and very light sounds. This was the code Lin Yu left for going home before she went out. Suyi walked to the door and did not say anything. Instead, he slightly moved the table blocking the door, making a sound of moving foreign objects. Sir, it's me. Soon, Lin Yu's low voice came from the door. Suyi was not sure who was outside the door, so he responded to the knock in this way. After confirming that it was Lin Yu, Suyi quickly and deftly moved the things aside one by one, opened the door to let Lin Yu in, and then placed the heavy object that was blocking the door at the door. He didn't mind the trouble of moving these things back and forth. Compared with the safety of his life, any trouble was not a trouble. How was it? What was the harvest? In the darkness, Suyi asked in a low voice. Lin Yu went into the bathroom, turned on the tactical flashlight with the help of the wall, and put the 3 school bags in his other hand on the ground. Chief, everyone is here. Lin Yu was also very careful. She opened her school bag with light movements, revealing the bag full of supplies. Suyi looked over, and at the same time, a prompt sound rang in his ears. Congratulations! The shelter exploration mission is completed, and the explorer brought back the following supplies. 20 bags of biscuits, 35 boxes of chocolate, 6 large bags of candy, 3 small rolls of toilet paper, 3 boxes of painkillers, 2 boxes of cold medicine, 8 boxes of patchouli, 20 cans of various canned fruits and vegetables, and 20 bags of dried fruits. Completion score for this exploration mission. Excellent. Your shelter gains 10 survival points. Your shelter has opened a survival point store, where you can use survival points to purchase Doomsday items or improve talent attributes. Survival points? Suyi raised his eyebrows. He remembered that there was indeed this item in the shelter data, but he didn't know that survival points were so useful. According to the introduction, it seems that the more survival points you have, the faster your shelter will become stronger. and currently the only way to obtain survival points stably seems to be the exploration mission. Well done. Sui patted Lin Yu on the shoulder and ordered, "Turn off the lights, pick some things and put them in the freezer, then we will have dinner." "Okay, Chief, but I'm not hungry yet." "Even if you are not hungry, you should eat something to replenish your energy." Sui could notice that there was a barely perceptible stamina bar above Lin Yu's head, which had changed from the full green value at noon to half yellow. This 8-hour exploration obviously made Lin Yu a little tired, and she had to rest. This also made Sui give up the idea of letting Lin Yu continue exploring overnight. Currently, there is only this one talented person in the shelter, and he must be taken good care of and not overexploited. With an extra helper in the house today, it is much easier for Sui to handle things. At 10 o'clock in the evening, the two had a simple meal and opened 2 cans of food to replenish the nutrients needed by the human body. Then, Lin Yu took the initiative to suggest improving the basic protection measures in the house at night and setting up some internal traps and early warning devices.
Sui naturalli noddet happily in agreement.
Having professional soldiers do these things would definitely be better than doing it himself. While Lin Yu was busy, Sui was also helping out, patiently asking for advice and asking, "What else do you need? Tell me. I'll find a way to get some." "Chief, I also need nylon rope, more knives, and regular stuff like chili powder." Lin Yu knew the current situation of the shelter and did not make excessive demands for supplies. "I see. I'll get these things." Sui nodded, opened the trading platform, and directly searched for the corresponding items. Since the establishment of the trading platform, people in the city who are in short supply would put almost anything on the platform for trading, even use sanitary napkins. There are almost all the common things on it, and the things that Lin Yu wants are no exception. Sui consumed a small amount of food that could not be stored for a long time and a bottle of ice water and bought what Lin Yu wanted. After Sui completed the purchase order and before closing it, he suddenly saw an order that caught his eye. Existing police equipment can be exchanged for food and water. If interested, please reply to the message. Police equipment? I'm afraid the other party is in the police station. Sui quickly sent a transaction request message in the order and noted, "I am Brother Bing Shui. I still have 3 bottles. Do you have a pistol and bullets? Grenades, or something like that will also work." The other party quickly sent a message indicating that the transaction was rejected, but there was a note. "Hello, Brother Ice Water. We need a lot of food and water. We do need your ice water, but 3 bottles can only be exchanged for 154 pistol. I can give you 10 rounds of bullets, which are enough for you to protect yourself in the near future and wait for rescue." Waiting for rescue? It seems that the other party's identity is official, and he still has not lost his determination to save the city. This is also in line with the consistent style of the Chinese people. In the face of disasters, there will always be heroes standing up. Sui pondered. He knew that the other party's refusal to trade was not a real refusal to trade, but a way to achieve private chat between shelters to ensure sufficient communication with the buyer. A pistol and 10 rounds of ammunition didn't seem to be much help. Sui was thinking in his mind. According to the other party's idea, it seems that he doesn't want to give out too many weapons resources. He should be worried about the problem of weapons recycling and the negative social impact after the disaster. If that's the case, I don't need the pistol, but it would be nice to have more bullets. Sui turned around and asked Lin Yu, who was working nearby, in a low voice. "Lin Yu, what type of bullets do you have?" "The CZ-75 submachine gun has a modified magazine that can hold 20 rounds of bullets, and the bullet type is 9x19mm pistol bullet." Lin Yu answered without turning his head. Sui didn't understand these military knowledge. He wrote down the content and replied to the seller's message. 3 bottles of ice water, 100 rounds of 9x19mm pistol bullets. Do you have a submachine gun? The other party soon noticed and sent a message in surprise. "Brother Bing Shui, who are you? How can you own a gun in China? Are you my colleague? I can't give you so many bullets. I'm not sure of your identity. I can only give you 20 bullets at most. Add 10 more bags of cookies and 100 more bullets." Sui did not answer the question directly, but just gave a price, which made the other party even more uncertain about Sui's identity. "You're my comrade? Okay, 50 rounds, that's the biggest concession I'll make. Add a box of painkillers, a box of cold medicine, a box of Huaxiang Jingqi water, and 100 bullets." The conditions offered by Sui almost moved the other party. Food shortages might be tolerable temporarily, but medicines are too precious. It's so hot outside right now, and it's difficult to get these medicines if there's no pharmacy nearby or if the pharmacy is closed. These drugs are extremely effective in the current environment, especially painkillers and junchi water, which can be regarded as life-saving artifacts. Congratulations, you have successfully completed an order transaction. The other party agreed quickly and did not send any more rejection messages. Instead, he readily accepted the order and delivered 100 rounds of bullets. At the same time, the online platform also took away the trading items given by Su-E, causing his material reserves to be reduced by 1/10. But it's all worth it. Sui looked at the 2 small bullet boxes stacked in front of him, which were full of brand new bullets. He couldn't suppress a smile on his face. Linyu, have you used your bullets today? How many are left? Chief, I'm saving money. I didn't use the gun today, so I have 60 rounds left. Here are 100 rounds. Don't be too frugal. Shoot when the critical moment comes. Sui handed the bullet box to Linyu and said with a smile, "It's a pity that I didn't get the magazines. I will try to buy more next time." "Thank you, Chief." When Linyu saw the bullet, her beautiful eyes lit up instantly and she quickly took the bullet. She knew very well that her life and the leader's safety now depended almost entirely on her gun and bullets. Now that he had more bullets, Sui felt less stressed and a smile appeared on his face. "Linyu, let me help you set the trap." Just when the 2 of them were relaxing, a loud noise suddenly came, breaking the silence of the night. Boom! A sound like a missile exploding came from outside the window, and a flash of fire instantly illuminated the night sky outside the window. Chapter 9. A surprising disaster. The 3rd talent reward. The loud noise was so close that Sui was almost scared out of his wits. Linyu also became alert instantly. What happened? Sui almost jumped up on the spot and rushed to the window to look outside. A fiery red light reflected on Sui's face. He looked out the window in horror, only to see bursts of blazing fire erupting on the street next door. The inexplicable explosion just now caused a fire in the city. In the hot climate, the fire was like a divine help, and it took almost an instant to form a fire, affecting several surrounding buildings. The terrifying flames grew higher and higher, like a long snake climbing towards the top of the building. A residential building was engulfed in fire. The windows on the floor were opened one after another. The people inside were awakened from their sleep, screaming and calling for help. Sui even saw someone unable to resist the rapidly spreading fire, risking his life by jumping out of a tall building alone. And then he was engulfed by a sea of fire. Those who were afraid to jump off the building to survive could only turn into fireballs in the room, rolling around and screaming in pain. Scenes of human tragedy are being played out right before our eyes. There's a big fire. Sui's whole body was stiff, and the firelight reflected the faint fear in his eyes. It was just a fire across the street, and at such a temperature, the speed at which it would spread would definitely be extremely fast. This means that the house where Sui is no longer safe. With the entire city paralyzed and in chaos, no one was able to suppress the fire. It won't take just a few hours for the fire to spread to the residential building where Sui lives, and it will spread to most of the city in a few days. The entire Jinling city might be destroyed in this sudden fire. The raging fire also caused an uproar in the city's chat channels. The chat channels, which were already filled with pessimism, were filled with wailing. "It's over. I'm done. The fire is right next to me and it's going to reach me soon. Help me. Someone help me. I'm in a fire." I was close and I saw that it seemed like the explosion was caused by a gas pipeline leak. I guess we are all doomed. There is no one to put out the fire now. Brother Bingshui. Calling Brother Bingshui. Our city needs heroes to step forward. Stop shouting. You expect Bingshui to put out the fire with those bottles of water? Aren't you awake yet? The chat channels of the entire city fell into panic, and everyone was filled with despair. Sui's expression was also silent. He knew that this was a crisis that was almost impossible to reverse. "Chief, we have to get out of here as soon as possible." Linyu also walked to Sui's side. She looked ahead with heavy eyes and whispered, "This fire will destroy the city and will definitely affect us within 2 hours. We don't have much time left. Is it just walking?" Sui clenched his fists. His eyes were complicated. It's the end of the world now. Where can he run to? If the shelter is destroyed, will his talent still be effective? Without his talent, how can he survive in the future? Even if we bring enough supplies and a capable Linyu, how long can we last? After surviving the first Doomsday, there is still the second and third Doomsday. Sui had too many concerns, but he knew that Lin Yu was right. If he didn't make preparations, he would not be able to leave. Huh. Lin Yu looked at the fire in front of him and suddenly murmured in confusion. It seems it has stopped spreading? Sui was startled and quickly looked forward. After careful observation, he found that the fire had indeed stopped. After 20 minutes, Sui was completely sure that the fire had not spread further outward and was still enveloping the 2 residential buildings and surrounding buildings. The range was about 800 meters, and the buildings outside the edge of the fire were not affected at all. The air was filled with heat waves, and the fire burned at a temperature ranging from 600 to 2,000 degrees. However, such a high-temperature flame did not affect the surroundings at all, and even the surrounding green plants were not ignited. Strange, why is this? Sui murmured, his brows furrowed. He was not the only one who was puzzled. People in the chat channel in the urban area also noticed this and were discussing it. Some lucky people who were close to the fire found that they were safe and sound. So they decided not to run away and began to live broadcast the fire to the survivors in the city through oral narration. Some people were there to watch the fun, while others were still frightened. But their eyes were unable to protect the survivors who were dying in the fire. Half an hour later, no more screams were heard from the fire-covered building. The last survivor also died in the fire. At 12 o'clock in the evening, the blazing flames were quickly extinguished and completely stopped in less than 10 minutes, leaving behind only a few ruined buildings with thick black smoke rising continuously. The fire started in a strange way and was extinguished in a strange way. Sui kept observing, but he didn't understand until the fire was out. And at this moment, a few seconds after the fire was extinguished, a citywide warning announcement appeared. Now for the city area announcement. The first regional Doomsday derivative disaster has occurred. The derivative disaster module is now officially open. Across the globe, derivative disasters may break out at any location and at any time depending on the type of doomsday currently occurring. Derivative disasters will not affect organisms and objects outside the disaster area. There may be signs when they occur, and some disasters will be notified in advance. If any shelter survives the derivative disaster, the shelter will receive a huge amount of doomsday survival points. If not, it will die. The cold announcement voice appeared, causing surprise and sudden enlightenment in the whole city. It's becoming more and more like a game, with random events also appearing. Sui murmured. He guessed that the derivative disasters should arise from random catastrophic events that might erupt in reality. The downside is that it is likely to be very destructive and cannot be resisted by the current shelters. The advantage is that it will not have unlimited impact, but will only cover a certain range. If I were to encounter a derivative disaster at this stage, I'm afraid there would be no hope of survival. Just as Sui was thinking, he suddenly heard whispering coming from the window upstairs. Brother, that fire is really weird, like some kind of disaster. Is there going to be a fire here for no reason to? What are you afraid of? The second brother's house is very strong and even a big fire can't burn us to death. Yes, if we work together, we will be invincible. Haha. It was the voice of Brother Lee's group. No one knew when they had returned, and from the sound it seemed that they lived on the top floor. Sui closed the gap in the curtains silently without revealing anything unusual. Lin Yu, who was standing by, was about to open his mouth to say something, but Sui raised his hand to stop him. Go to sleep and rest, we'll talk tomorrow. Sui gestured with his mouth and hands, and Lin Yu nodded seriously. She knew there was danger upstairs, so she turned around and went back to the door to continue tinkering with the trap. Sui took out a thin quilt from the cupboard and spread it on the sofa to make a simple bed for Lin Yu, then placed the open freezer close to Lin Yu to cool it down. This freezer does not require electricity and can provide continuous cooling. So Sui also uses it as an air conditioner, turning it on for a long time to release cold air to lower the temperature in the house. Only in this way can we ensure that the two of them will not be too hot to sleep. After doing everything, Sui lay on the bed, closed his eyes, and went to sleep. Perhaps because Lin Yu was guarding him tonight, Sui slept particularly soundly. It was not until 11 o'clock the next morning that Lin Yu carefully woke Sui up. Commander, I heard some noise outside. It seems that the group of people upstairs went downstairs to search for supplies. In the morning, they seemed to have killed someone upstairs, and from the sound it seemed to be an old man. Lin Yu looked at Sui with a serious expression, and there was a gleam of hatred in her eyes. Sui patted his drowsy head and waved his hand. Don't worry about them, let's protect ourselves first. Well, Chief, should I set out on another exploration today? Lin Yu asked. We don't have enough supplies yet. If I explore now while that group of people are out, I don't have to worry about your safety. Hold on.
Sui refused.
He was waiting for the talent reward on the third day. After the two of them had a simple meal, Sui sat next to the freezer to cool down. Time passed and soon it was past 12 noon. As promised, the clear and pleasant reminder sound rang in Suyi's ears. Congratulations! You have stayed in the shelter for 24 hours, triggering the talent reward. The stay time starts again. Chapter 10 New Talent. Conditions for Shelter Upgrade. Congratulations on successfully recruiting D-level auxiliary talent. Engineer Li Ya. As the mysterious prompt sounded, a human-shaped golden light appeared in front of Su-Yi, and in the blink of an eye, a woman walked out of the golden light. She is tall, with a unique temperament and smooth black hair, which is simply tied into a low ponytail. Her eyes are full of wisdom in the gold-rimmed glasses. She was wearing simple dark work clothes and a multifunctional tool belt around her waist, which was equipped with various small and precise tools, ranging from screwdrivers to microwelders. Even her gloves were specially made anti-static gloves, and she carried a backpack filled with various electronic components and measuring instruments. Another talent reward. Suyi's eyes lit up. He found that as long as there was enough food and water, the rewards from the talent unit had appeared twice in a row. Does this mean that, from the perspective of the talent mechanism, the resource I lack most at the moment is talent? The shelter has population data, which shows that population is also an urgently needed resource for the shelter. Talent units are actually more advanced population resources. Sui was thinking in his mind when the new talent Linya was politely greeting Sui. Hello, boss. I'm happy to serve you. Boss? Another new name. However, these talents are loyal to the shelter, so their names don't matter. While Sui was looking at Liya, he opened Liya's data panel to check. Talent data information.
Name, Liya.
Age, 28. Type, engineer. Talent level, D level. Physical strength, 75. Neurological response, 90. Endurance, 80. Mental will, 78. Self-healing immunity, 78. Talent characteristics. Wisdom Chi has outstanding IQ and problem-solving skills, strong logical thinking ability, and is an intellectual research talent. Talent. Engineering expertise. She has a high talent in engineering scientific research, is proficient in a variety of engineering technologies, and is good at developing, improving, and creating technological items for the shelter. Research ability score, 85 points. A whole new type of talent.
Ingénieur, RD.
Good at creating technological items for the shelter. Sui was very keenly aware of the uniqueness of these keywords. If Linyu is a typical combat talent, then Liya's data panel is very interesting. In the apocalypse, human technology has already completely failed. As a scientific research talent, how can Liya recreate technological items under such circumstances? Sui noticed that the technological items mentioned in Liya's data had a prefix of shelter. Are shelter technology and human technology different systems? Sui pondered for a moment, then looked at Liya and asked for confirmation. Liya, what can you create? Anything that improves the current shelter environment is something I'm good at. Liya's voice was light and her tone was firm, including the shelter's defense facilities, living facilities, expansion, etc. Of course, I cannot develop anything too advanced yet. Liya's level is only D, so the level of the items she develops will not be too high. Wait, expansion? Sui noticed this word and was surprised. Liya can actually expand the shelter? Doesn't this mean that the space in the shelter can be made larger? This is a good thing. A larger space not only means that it can accommodate more people, but also improves the defense and disaster resistance capabilities of the shelter through the creation and arrangement of space. Liya, how do you plan to expand the shelter? Sui asked, and Liya said respectfully, that depends on what type of shelter the boss plans to have. Apart from that, I need the corresponding type of shelter expansion materials. After Liya said this, as if a certain keyword was triggered, a new prompt message popped up in front of Sui. The necessary prerequisites for expanding the shelter are having the corresponding type of talent or technical drawings, having enough building materials for expansion, and having enough space for renovation. Your shelter is currently at level 0. To upgrade to level 1, you need to meet the following conditions. 1. Select the type of shelter you want to upgrade, not completed. 2. Have corresponding talents or technical drawings. Already have engineers. 3. Have 100 Doomsday survival points. Currently have 10 points. 4. An adjacent space twice the size of the current shelter, unsurveyed. 5. 100 units of corresponding building materials. If not owned, building materials can be obtained by sending talents to explore missions. Hiss. Sui widened his eyes and muttered. These 5 requirements don't seem simple at all. These are just the conditions for upgrading the level 1 shelter. However, what changes will occur to the shelter after upgrading to level 1 shelter? Does this type of shelter have any special meaning? Sui focused his attention on the type of shelter, and soon the prompt box changed. Currently, the optional types for upgrading level 1 shelters are 1. Refugee camp. With more living space, the residents of the shelter have a 20% resistance to various extreme natural environments. The corresponding building material is wood for refugees. 2. Experimental house has a more detailed technology tree, which can create more shelter items, corresponding building materials and electronic components. 3. Studio. The time consumed in dispatched exploration missions is reduced by 20%, and the dispatched materials obtained are increased by 10%, corresponding to large banknotes for building materials. Please choose your shelter type carefully. Each shelter type has its fixed upgrade path. Once the shelter type is determined, it cannot be changed in the future without specific means. Sui glanced at the information in front of him and had a rough idea in his mind. The 3 types of shelters correspond to different shelter styles, which can be roughly divided into disaster resistance, scientific research, and active work. These 3 also correspond to different attitudes towards disasters and have their own advantages. Which one should I choose? Wait, I haven't even met the conditions for upgrading yet. How come I was chosen? These 3 corresponding building materials don't sound like something that exists on Earth, so let's get them together first.
Sui simulate bittaye.
Given his current situation, he could only upgrade the type of shelter that corresponds to whichever of the 3 materials were gathered first. Linyu, get ready to go out and explore. Sui turned his head and opened today's dispatch mission, and found today's exploration mission for collecting materials, which took 12 hours. Yes. Linyu nodded, took 2 bottles of ice water and some dry food, then moved away the debris blocking the door and left home. It is now past 12 noon, and Linyu will not be back until after midnight. After making arrangements for Linyu, Sui looked at Liya. He originally wanted to assign a mission to Liya, but considering Liya's identity as an engineer, she didn't seem to be very combat capable. Liya, can you tell me what specifically you can make?
Sui looked at Liya.
He wanted to place talents in the right positions and give full play to their abilities. Boss, I don't know how to introduce you. Liya shook her head and suggested, but you can tell me what you need, and if I can make it, I can start working now. When you make something, don't you need specific materials? Boss, to make low-level items, I can use local materials. Liya looked very confident, and Sui couldn't help but ask expectantly, can you generate electricity, build a motor, or something like that? Electricity is a vital energy for human beings. If we had electricity, we could do a lot of things. Liya shook her head. I can't do it without specific materials and drawings. Then, shall we renovate our shelter and improve its defense? Sui asked, and Liya nodded. It can be simply repaired and strengthened, but it cannot be improved too much. Improve as much as you can. Sui was already very satisfied. As long as the shelter was strong enough to withstand the risks. Get to work now. I'll help you. Oh, and be quiet so the neighbors don't hear you. Okay, boss. Liya nodded, picked up her toolkit and started working. She didn't ask Sui for help, and started measuring, planning, and other work in the room on her own. Sui walked around, trying to help, but couldn't get a hand. So Sui simply lay back on the bed, thinking about what to do next. He thought about a lot of things, including the upgrade of the shelter, the arrangement of talents, and the potential threats from Brotherly and others. All kinds of thoughts kept colliding in Sui's mind. The temperature in the room was still hot, but fortunately there was a freezer next to it that kept emitting cool air. The cool feeling made Sui's head groggy, and he fell asleep in bed. Boss, wake up. Liya called out softly, causing Sui to open his eyes in surprise and turn over in bed. It was already pitch black outside the window, and Sui suddenly realized, Liya, how long have I slept? 9 hours. Boss. Liya squatted beside the bed and whispered, you are under too much mental pressure, so you sleep very deeply. But this is a good thing. Effective sleep can repair your mental state. Liya, did anything happen while I was asleep? Is there any movement outside? Boss, a group of people came outside an hour ago. Liya reported softly. It seemed like a group of men. They tried to push open our door, but failed. It's Brother Lee and the others. Sui suddenly became nervous and looked towards the door reflexively. Just with this one glance, Sui was stunned. All the obstacles he had placed on the door were gone, and they had returned to their original positions in the room. The original old wooden door now has an inner structure with steel bars interspersed inside. There is a wooden door on the outside and a layer of fine steel bars covering the inside. There is a layer of fine iron spikes on top of these steel outer shells, which seems to be a specially designed defense measure to prevent the wooden door outside from being pushed open. The entire door exuded a heavy and stinging feeling, which gave Sui a great sense of security. This is much more powerful than the door of his room that is filled with clutter. It looks very difficult to be broken into from the outside. You did all this? Sui looked at Leah and asked with surprise. Leah nodded. Yes, boss. Due to limited materials, this is all I can do for now. Materials? Where did you get them? Sui then realized that there were no iron products in the house. Where did Leah get these things to modify the door? Could it be possible that this woman could make something up out of nothing? Chapter 11, The Mob is Coming. Big crisis in the middle of the night. Boss, I explored the other 3 houses on the same floor outside the door and found some usable materials inside. Leah explained, and these words also made Sui realize something. It seems that as long as you give the orders, talents will find ways to complete the tasks on their own. For example, Leah would take the initiative to explore the surrounding area of the shelter in order to find suitable materials. You weren't in any danger, were you? Sui paused and reminded, pay attention to safety issues and don't take too many risks. Thank you for your concern, boss. I ensured safety before exploring the surrounding area and did not make any big noise. Leah paused and said, I originally planned to make some lock picks to open the neighbors' doors, but when I went out, I found that their houses had been broken into by force. The other 3 rooms on this floor were uninhabited, with only some bloodstains, as if they had been invaded from outside. The interior was in a mess, food and water had been stolen, and I could only find some unwanted repair materials. Considering what happened to my neighbors, I modified our front door, made some door traps, and also made 5 steel spears. Leah turned her head and looked towards the corner. There were 5 steel spears about 2 meters long placed there. The spear bodies were made of common steel pipes, and the spearheads were welded with kitchen knives. They were carefully polished and shiny. This is good stuff. Sui's eyes lit up. This was a long weapon. In the absence of firearms, holding such a spear could also provide a certain degree of resistance when facing foes. Leah, you are really capable. Thank you for the compliment, boss. By the way, the group of people just now didn't break down the door. Did they find anyone inside? Sui asked. He was a little annoyed that he slept too deeply and didn't hear any of the noise. Actually, it's not Sui's fault. Sui has been under great mental pressure during the 3 days of the apocalypse, especially when he was alone. There were villains and natural disasters outside, and he also had to consider the problem of supply shortages inside. Under high pressure that lasts for many days, once you fall into a deep sleep, it is difficult to wake you up. Probably not discovered. Leah shook her head. I remember the boss's instructions. I didn't make any sound or movement, and the welding machine I used also has a silencer effect. However, a normal wooden door cannot withstand their hammering and banging. Sooner or later, they will react and realize that we are hiding. Leah's analysis was correct. Being exposed was a matter of time. Before that, Sui needed to be better prepared. Yeah, I understand. Sui took a deep breath and looked around the room. Many parts of the room had been specially modified in detail. For example, wooden insulation layers were added to the windows, the curtains were thickened, and a single air conditioning diffusion device was added outside the freezer. Leah's renovation not only took into account the safety of the shelter, but also the comfort. No wonder I felt the temperature was a little lower tonight. Thank you for your hard work. Sui was very satisfied. It's almost time. Let's eat first. Lin, you should be back soon. Boss, I have already had dinner. Please enjoy your meal first. I still have some new renovation work to complete. Leah stood up and her figure blended into the darkness of the room. No one knew what she was fiddling with. Sui picked up the bread and ice water, and while eating, he prepared to open the trading platform to see if there were any new trading items today. He has developed a habit of trading the unused ice water every day to maximize the storage resources of the shelter. While browsing the interface, Sui discovered that one of the 5 major requirements for upgrading the shelter had been completed. Successfully surveyed available adjacent space for upgrading the shelter. Successful detection? Is this the reason why Leah searched several nearby houses? Sui thought to himself, if that's the case, if there are other shelters next to the shelter, wouldn't we have to kill them all in order to complete the expansion requirements? After all, most modern residences are connected to each other, and when both residences are shelters, there will inevitably be natural conflicts and contradictions in expanding the shelters. It seems that even if someone doesn't want to upgrade the shelter and doesn't want to cause trouble, there will be others who will come to cause trouble for it. In the apocalypse, everyone wants to become stronger and upgrade their shelters. I'm afraid this process will result in many humans dying at the hands of their own kind.
Sumisikit.
He could not change the dangerous environment of the disaster. He just wanted to protect himself. After opening the trading platform, he immediately searched for weapons trading orders. What he lacks most now is weapons. If possible, Sui hopes to get another gun and some bullets. I still have 6 bottles of ice water left today, so I should be able to buy some good weapons. Sui quickly searched for suitable order information, and soon he saw a weapons sale order issued by a shelter called Jinling Rescue Team. We have a large number of police weapons and equipment of all types, which can be exchanged for medicines, food, and drinking water. If you're interested, please submit your information. No, don't ask me where I am. The shelter has a population limit, and we cannot accommodate too many survivors. No one can help the weak now. You have to rely on yourself. This information is very interesting. The other party is not only selling weapons, but also seems to know some insider mechanisms of the shelter. It looked like he was trying to rescue more survivors in the city, but seemed to have failed. Sui murmured, "Is this the mechanism of the Doomsday game, not allowing humans to stick together? Forcing us to fight on our own in the Doomsday?" Sui quickly submitted the order for ice water, and at the same time, tentatively asked his own questions in the transaction information. The other party quickly replied, "Hello, Brother Bing Shui. I am very interested in your order. We can talk about it in detail." During the communication and negotiation, the other party did not try to lower the price much and readily agreed to Sui's transaction request. At the same time, the other party also gave Sui some piece of intelligence. "Brother Bing Shui, we now know that humans who own the same shelter cannot live in other shelters. As for those who voluntarily abandon the shelter, our level 0 shelter cannot accommodate too many people as there is a limit on the upper limit of the resident population. We are unable to provide rescue assistance to more people. We can only strive to provide support in terms of food and weapons, while we also have to consider the issue of our own survival. This game has interrupted our best ability as humans to unite. But we have not given up and are still looking for new ways, hoping to help more compatriots. I hope Brother Bing Shui can do his best and help as many people as possible. Our nation needs more heroes to stand up in times of crisis." The other party seemed to be an official and gave Sui some earnest advice. At the same time, Sui also realized that in the past few days, there is still a group of people in the city who are actively carrying out rescue operations and trying to gather more people to feed each other. But they failed and are still looking for new ways. "Thank you for your information. I will do my best to help the weak." Sui's reply was very insincere. He didn't intend to do so, but considering that the other party was indeed very generous, it didn't matter if he said some polite words. 6 bottles of ice water in exchange for 254 pistols and 50 rounds of bullets. It's really a good deal. Sui played with the pistol in front of him inside. Although the pistol in front of him was a bit old and had few bullets, it at least enabled everyone in the shelter to have a gun. Even if you encounter any problems, don't worry too much. "Leah, can you shoot?" Sui asked Leah in a low voice in the dark. Leah quickly poked her head out, looking very cute in the moonlight through the gap outside the window. "Boss, I can use a gun, but my accuracy is average. Can you teach me? I have never fired a gun." "Okay, boss." Leah obediently walked to Sui and patiently taught Sui how to use a gun. Most of the space in the room was filled with darkness. The young man and woman were alone in the room and could smell the scent of the opposite sex on each other's body. When a single man and a single woman are close to each other, it is easy for them to become passionately attracted to each other. But Sui didn't have these distracted thoughts now. He studied very seriously, and Leah also taught seriously. Although their bodies were pressed tightly together, their hearts were pure to each other. 2 hours later, there were sudden bursts of dull knocks on the door. Because of the addition of steel, the knocks were louder than usual. Leah's expression suddenly became tense. She held the gun in both hands, turned around quickly, and pointed the gun at Sui. "Don't panic. Minyu is back." Sui comforted. He heard the rhythm of knocking on the door and motioned Leah to go over and open the door. This iron door requires a special door opening technique. People who don't know it will definitely not be able to open it using the technique, let alone open it by force. Leah carefully opened a crack in the door, and after confirming that it was Linyu outside, she opened the door and let Linyu in. This time, Linyu also returned with a lot of bags. She put the things on the ground and opened them in front of Sui. Inside was a pile of various electronic components and some colorful banknotes. Congratulations, you have obtained 103 units of electronic components and 76 units of big banknotes in this talent exploration. Completion score for this exploration mission. Perfect. You have earned 20 survival points. Linyu, well done. Sui couldn't suppress the smile on his face. This wave of material collection tasks was too perfect. He had gathered all the necessary materials for upgrading a shelter. He also got 20 survival points. Sui now has 30 survival points. However, this material collection task really only provides upgrade materials and no other supplies. Sui has now met 4 of the 5 prerequisites for upgrading the shelter, and all he needs is 100 survival points to upgrade to a level 1 shelter. According to the conversation between Leah and Sui in the evening, Leah told Sui that if the shelter was upgraded to a level 1 laboratory, the power system of the shelter could be restored and it could barely reach the living conditions before the disaster. Sui, who has been tortured by darkness for many days, now desperately wants to see the light, so he is more inclined to upgrade the shelter to a laboratory. Linyu's expression remained heavy when she heard Sui's praise. She looked at Sui and warned him in a low voice. Chief, on my way upstairs, I heard the group of people upstairs preparing for a search. It seems like they are planning to search our entire building tonight. Linyu's words made Sui's expression change slightly. Before Sui could speak, a loud and noisy sound suddenly came from the corridor outside. Hurry up, bring your weapons. Catch all the people alive tonight. Damn, I didn't expect that killing people would give survival points. Brotherly said that we will finish this for you, and we will finish the neighboring buildings tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. It won't be long before the whole city belongs to us. We are the emperors of Jinlei. Ha ha ha. If you follow Brotherly, you will definitely have me to eat. The voices of the group of people were getting closer and closer, and soon they gathered at the door of Sui's room. This is it. I thought there was something strange about it before. I couldn't even open this broken door. Brothers, break the door. If there are people, kill them. If there are no people, search for supplies. Sui's expression suddenly became gloomy and embarrassed. The actions of this group of thugs were faster than he expected. Without any warning, they attacked at night. Chapter 12. Gunfight in the middle of the night. Big crisis in the shelter. Linyu's news had just been passed on to Sui when the thugs outside the door had already gathered in the corridor outside the door. Sui barely had any time to react as he could already hear the man outside the door seemingly beginning a thorough check of the floor and the faint sounds of thugs coming from the neighbor's room next door. Huh, the traces I set up here yesterday are gone. Has anyone been here? Something seems to be missing. It must be the one with the door closed. I said there must be someone inside. Damn it, go find them. They dare to hide. Sui narrowed his eyes and looked at Linyu. Linyu calmly made a few gestures, indicating that Sui and Leah should stand in the blind corner of the room. Sui nodded and stood carefully against the wall.
Leah stood diagonally opposte Sui.
Linyu squatted behind the freezer. The 3 of them held guns and held their breath waiting for the enemy to come. After a while, a violent banging sound was heard from outside.
Bang! Bang! Bang!
Come out, everyone inside. If you keep hiding, I will kill you all. Damn it, how did you play tricks on me? I came knocking on the door on the first day, and you didn't say anything. Take this door apart and get the hammer. Boom! Boom! Along with the shouting of the thugs, there was a sound of wood breaking. The old wooden door outside could not stop the thugs outside at all. When the wooden door was broken, rays of blinding flashlight light penetrated into the house through the gaps in the steel bars. The flickering light allowed Sui to see a vague figure swaying outside the steel door through the reflection in the mirror. A rough estimate is that there are at least 20 people. The group of thugs had grown larger, and with more people than us, Sui did not dare to shoot rashly and expose his position. On the contrary, Linyu was very brave. She fired decisively the moment the light came in. Da-da-da! A small volley of bullets burst out from the muzzle fire, and almost at the moment the gun went off, a puffing sound was heard outside the door. Ah, there's a gun. The people inside have a gun. Damn it, I was shot. Brotherly, I was shot. I'm going to die. Hide. Let's hide quickly. Where are our guns? Take them out and shoot. There was a burst of screams and panic outside. and Lin Yu's sudden attack directly interrupted the other party's arrogance. Amazing! Sui's eyes lit up, and he looked at Lin Yu, who was squatting behind the freezer. He knew how complicated the modification of the Iron Gate by Liya was. Although there were gaps between the steel bars, they were not large. If Sui were to shoot, his bullet would most likely not be able to penetrate the gap and would likely bounce back inside the house and injure his own people. Lin Yu's marksmanship is not simple. She can do this even with a submachine gun. But the thugs outside the door were not pushovers either, and soon the muzzle of a gun was pressed against the gap in the iron door. Bang, bang, bang. The crisp sound of gunfire rang out in the darkness, and the bullet fire ran around the walls of the room, breaking some things. The thugs also had guns, which I guess they bought on online trading platforms. Kill them. Shoot them now. No more bullets, damn. I wonder if the person is dead or not. There's no movement inside. Break open this broken door. Kill him while he's sick. The thugs were shouting outside, and they had already used up all the bullets in the magazine. While the thugs continued to smash the door, Sui saw Lin Yu making a gesture to Liya. Liya nodded. Half of her body appeared from the corner of the bunker, and fired 3 bursts in the direction of the door with a flashlight. Bang, bang, bang. One bullet was empty and hit the iron gate and went off to some unknown place, while the other 2 bullets obviously went out of the door. Oh, shit. There's still someone alive inside. My brother was shot. My brother was shot. Brotherly, what should we do now? Shoot. Keep shooting. The thugs outside were in a panic, and after changing their bullets, they continued shooting inside. But Liya had already hidden back in the corner. The thugs' bullets flew around the room, but could not hurt Sui and the other 2. Because Lin Yu's positioning arrangement had taken stray bullets into consideration, their positions were relatively safe in the small space, and they were not bothered by stray bullets, nor would they be directly hit by the opponent's bullets. When the thugs finished firing a volley of bullets and the gunfire just stopped, Lin Yu was almost instantly exposed and fired 2 volleys of bullets towards the door. Da-da-da, puff, puff. Outside the door, the sound of bullets hitting flesh could be heard, and the screams of the thugs were endless. No, you can't be targets at the door. There's a sharpshooter inside. We can't defeat him, brotherly. Let's retreat first. Damn, this idea is difficult. Let's retreat upstairs first. The thugs did not have the fighting spirit of regular soldiers. After several counterattacks, many of them were injured, and they were all afraid that they would be the next unlucky guy to be shot. Amidst the noise and screams, the messy sounds outside the door gradually faded away. Are they gone? Sui asked in a low voice, but Lin Yu held his breath and squatted there, not moving. Suddenly, Lin Yu exposed his arm and fired from the right side, da-da-da. As the gunfire erupted, screams were heard from the door again. Shit, the people inside discovered us. Go, go, damn it. There was a new chaotic sound outside the door, and another burst of dense footsteps faded away. Cold sweat broke out on Sui's forehead. These thugs were so insidious that in this situation they actually wanted to ambush the people in the room, waiting for the moment when the people in the room relaxed under the high pressure, and then launch another surprise attack. Fortunately, Lin Yu was here. She had extremely high combat skills and saw through the ambush of the thugs. Sir, they ran away. Lin Yu bent down from the freezer and walked quickly to Sui and asked with concern, "Are you hurt?" "I'm feeling." Sui shook his head. He didn't fire a single shot just now and dodged well, so of course he would be fine. Sui was not timid, but his vision was obstructed at night. It was also his first time touching a gun, so he did not dare to shoot casually for fear of holding his teammates back. As it turned out, Sui's decision was correct. Given the terrain obstacles, this group of bandits together are no match for Lin Yu alone. "Chief, we probably won't be able to sleep tonight." Lin Yu lowered his voice and analyzed the subsequent battle situation for Sui. The people outside suffered losses. There must be no less than 5 people who were shot just now. They will most likely attack us again in the second half of the night. This iron gate should be able to stop them, but if the other party has a door-breaking device, it may not be possible. Lin Yu's expression was very serious, and the strong smell of blood coming from outside the door also confirmed Lin Yu's analysis. The thugs suffered such a heavy loss that they naturally could not swallow their pride. Then let's counterattack them. Liya lowered her voice and made a suggestion. Lin Yu, you are so strong. Let's take the initiative to attack, disrupt their formation, and advance to retreat. Your analysis makes a lot of sense. Lin Yu glanced at Liya and said with a wry smile, "But I can't do it. They should be squatting in the corridor now. waiting for us to go out. We don't know how many guns the other side has. Besides, the commander also said that the other side might have some combat talent, which should be more difficult to deal with. I'm actually not afraid of death, but I'm worried that if I go out, I may not be able to catch them all in one fell swoop. If I die and a few more enemies are missed, the leader will be in danger. Linyu frowned. She was the only combat unit in the shelter now. Although Liya could shoot, her combat skills were definitely not as good as Linyu's. Not to mention Sui, who was just an ordinary person a few days ago. It's no problem to let Sui fight hard, but he can only be regarded as a combat force at most. It seems that we can only adopt a delaying tactic. Liya glanced at Sui and whispered, "Boss, let's not let Linyu go out these days. We should sit back and wait, and find a way to hurt the enemy so that we can break the deadlock." I'm afraid we don't have that much time to waste. Sui's expression was very ugly. He opened the city area chat channel and saw a shocking message. High price purchase, grenades, flamethrowers, kerosene and other weapons and equipment. Goods are negotiable. If you have something to sell, place an order quickly. This is the latest city channel purchase information. The spokesperson was a guy named Li Daqiang from the shelter. Sui quickly determined that they were the group of thugs outside the door. They want to buy equipment that can break into the door by force. These thugs really couldn't swallow this humiliation. According to Sui, such equipment is being sold on trading platforms throughout the city. At least Sui had seen orders for grenades and the like. This means that the next round of attacks by the thugs will begin soon, and the means of attack will be more brutal and more threatening. Chapter 13, The Only Way Out. A life or death situation. If only these thugs could really buy the right equipment. No, it's almost certain that they can. This group of thugs go out every day to search for supplies, and kill people in neighbors' houses to steal supplies. Their reserves must be very rich. As long as they are willing to pay a high price, they can definitely buy it. If they get hold of such a powerful weapon, I'm afraid I won't be able to survive tonight. Sui's expression was embarrassed, and there was deep helplessness in his eyes. He obviously hadn't offended anyone. He just stayed at home every day thinking about how to survive the end of the world. But he happened to encounter such a bad thing. "Chief, you?" Linyu saw Sui's expression change and asked in a low voice, "Is the situation very bad?" Sui nodded and told Linyu and Liya about his concerns and discoveries. "Do you have any solution? Just hold on until tomorrow noon. That's all." Sui asked for advice sincerely, hoping that the two people could give him correct advice. As long as he can hold on until tomorrow noon, Sui will be able to obtain a new talent reward. According to the information about the talent reward will give Sui the reward he needs most urgently at the moment, and Sui will definitely be able to obtain something that will break the deadlock. Linyu lowered his head and said nothing, while Liya looked at Sui, then at Linyu, seeming to want to say something but stopping herself. "Boss, I have a solution, but it's a little dangerous. Come on, tell me." Sui's eyes lit up and he asked anxiously, "It would be best if there was a way to break the impasse now. If we wait until those thugs buy the equipment and block the door again, everything will be over. The current shelter is just an ordinary living house, which cannot withstand powerful weapons such as flamethrowers and grenades. Maybe Linyu needs to take a risk." Liya looked at Linyu and whispered, "Among the three of us, only Linyu has the strongest fighting ability. It's nighttime now, and the external conditions are very suitable for defense and individual hidden combat. If we cover her going out and let her stay outside, we will definitely be able to attract this group of thugs. If the thugs dare to block the door again, then you can take the opportunity to attack from outside and cooperate with us from inside and outside, and most likely we can stop the opponent's offensive again. But there are many difficulties. 1. There may be thugs guarding the place with guns outside. After we open the door, we may not be able to send Linyu out, but will destroy our own protective barrier. 2. Linyu can use darkness to ensure her own safety, but if it is daybreak in the morning, if she rashly fires a gun, she may expose herself. In such a small building, it will be difficult for her to escape the enemy's search. If Linyu dies outside, the two of us won't be able to hold on for long in the room. Liya's analysis is very comprehensive. Sui opened his mouth and finally sighed. Should a woman be left to die alone? She is a comrade in the shelter. Liya's analysis is the most logical way to break the impasse, and Sui can't think of a better way. After all, the number gap between them and the mob was too big, so it was difficult to come up with any feasible strategy. "Let's do it." Linyu suddenly spoke up and agreed with Liya's plan. "Chief, Liya is right. If I go out, I can take more initiative and delay the bandits to the greatest extent. You will die. Sui looked at Lin Yu with a complicated expression. There is a high probability that you will die outside. I am not afraid of death, as long as I can keep the leader alive. Lin Yu answered without hesitation. Her eyes were bright and her expression was firm. The leader is the most important. I will do my best to delay the enemy until noon. Sui was silent. The bottom line as a human being tells him that it is wrong to let a woman die. But the desire to survive told Sui that this was the only way. Even if Lin Yu's adventurous behavior is likely to be futile, it is better than the three of them being trapped in this house. Then there is another question. How do we get out? Leah looked at Lin Yu, and Lin Yu looked out the window with raised eyebrows. Go through the window. Can you do it? Yes, this is a military training program. Lin Yu was very confident, and even winked at Leah playfully. For Chinese soldiers, climbing walls and running on rooftops is a basic skill. Lin Yu, you are not in training now. You don't have a safety rope. Under the current conditions, I can't make you any rock climbing equipment. Leah's expression was serious. You can only climb the wall with your bare hands. I don't want you to fall down. Your death will be meaningless. You might as well stay with the boss. Don't worry, you protect the leader. Lin Yu did not hesitate any longer. She bent down and walked quickly to the window, slightly opened the curtains, quickly removed the covering on the door frame, and opened the window. A wave of heat suddenly poured into the room from outside. Lin Yu hung a bottle of ice water around his waist, then nimbly jumped out of the window and disappeared into the darkness. Lin Yu. Sui rushed to the window and stretched his head to look. Under the moonlight, he saw an agile figure stepping on the air conditioner outdoor unit and moving continuously on the outer edge of the wall with the help of the hot water pipe. Wherever she reached out, it was burning hot. This scene is very dangerous. If she misses a step, she will be smashed to pieces. Heat waves continue to sweep in from all around, enveloping her entire body and continuously taking away her strength and moisture. Boss, come back soon. Leah pulled Sui back from behind. Be careful of the door. If the enemy shoots, you will be shot from this position. Believe Lin Yu, this is our only way to survive. Leah dragged Sui back to the corner with a serious expression. Boss, you can't be too soft-hearted. In extraordinary times, we must take extraordinary measures. Am I being soft-hearted? Sui lowered his head with a bitter smile on his face. If he was really soft-hearted, he would not have remained silent and let the two of them make the decision, allowing Lin Yu to take a risky action that would surely lead to his death. Sui knew that this was the right thing to do, but people have conscience. Sui also understood that he should be hard-hearted in the end times and learn to lose his conscience. But he is not the reborn person in the novel, and he cannot be naturally cold-blooded and ruthless. But in order to survive, he had to do it. Yes, I have done that. Sui lowered his head and muttered to himself with a complicated expression. If Lin Yu dies, I won't be able to survive until tomorrow noon. Sui felt very conflicted. He could only constantly comfort himself. Lin Yu might not be a human. She might just be game data created by that mysterious being, or a replica of a human soldier. But is she really not a human? Sui didn't know that the more he comforted himself, the more he thought about the sense of security that Lin Yu had brought him in the past few days. Regardless of whether this woman is human or not, at least Sui knows that he does owe Lin Yu something. Boss, this is the end of the world. You have to learn to be more ruthless.
Leah stuck close to Sui.
She looked at the door vigilantly and lowered her voice. If you don't do this, you are not a qualified leader. I've been learning. Sui muttered, covering his forehead and sighing deeply. Leah, I am already very cold. I just might need some time to get used to it. No matter how guilty he felt, he still let Lin Yu take the risk. He was already cruel, but he just felt a little guilty. The atmosphere in the room became silent for a moment. Sui's expression gradually relaxed, and he had adjusted his state. Anyway, at least it has been proven that the recruited talents are very loyal to me. Sui took a deep breath and said to himself, I hope I can hold on until tomorrow noon. In the high-pressure environment of Doomsday, having time to cherish one's conscience is a luxury. I don't know how much time has passed. There was still no movement outside the door. It seemed that the thugs did not purchase enough equipment to break down the door. The only sounds coming from upstairs were some cursing and the screams of the wounded. Lin Yu's whereabouts were also unknown. There was no body of her downstairs where she accidentally fell to death, and Sui didn't know where she was hiding. Time passes by little. Soon, daybreak came. Sui tried to hold on to his drowsy spirit when he noticed that the sky outside the window had turned red. Sudden.
Da.
A burst of rapid gunfire came from upstairs. It was Lin Yu who took action. Chapter 14. Daytime Death Battle. The grenade exploded. Sui was startled and quickly looked up at the ceiling. Leah beside him also clenched her pistol and looked towards the door nervously. Soon, there were bursts of gunfire from upstairs, accompanied by screams and curses. It's the window. Over there. Damn, it's a woman. Is she the one living downstairs? I don't know. Brotherly, my brother is dead. He's dead. He's dead. Damn it. I don't want to wait any longer. What kind of a shitty military advisor are you? Brotherly, don't listen to him. Go and get revenge now. One grenade is enough to kill this bitch. How dare you? The bitch, to attack me. Wait. Brotherly, she has appeared. There is probably no one downstairs. She is a resident of a single room. We can't waste grenades in an empty house. I remember there was a man living downstairs, right? When did it become a woman? There were chaotic noises coming from upstairs. Sui listened attentively with a serious expression. The other party really bought the grenade. No wonder Lin Yu suddenly opened fire. She was trying to attract firepower to prevent the other party from coming after Sui with a grenade. Sure. Leah put her finger to her mouth, signaling Sui not to make any sound. If the other party knew that there were people downstairs at this time, both of them would probably be dead. In such a small space, the two of them will definitely suffer all the damage from the grenade explosion. As expected, in less than a few minutes, there was a rustling noise outside the door. Sui's hair stood on end. Through the reflection of the mirror specially placed in the corner, he saw pupils shaking in the gap of the iron door. Someone was spying on the house. The man was sticking close to the iron gate, his eyes darting around like a devil, making people's hair stand on end. After a while, there was a loud shouting from outside the door. Brotherly, there's no one downstairs, no movement at all. But the iron door is locked very well. It seems she didn't go through the main door. An echo soon came from upstairs. Sure enough, that woman came out. She climbed up the window and attacked us. Damn, is this bitch Spider-Man? Search the whole building. We must catch her. Damn it. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Brotherly, if you catch her, hand her over to me first. I want to avenge my brother. I want to fuck this woman to death. There were frequent footsteps coming from upstairs, and it seemed that people were being dispatched. Brotherly, let me follow you. I think you are the best fighter. It is safer to follow you. Stop the fucking nonsense, count the guns, and give the grenades to the military advisor. Do you have enough bullets? That woman's shooting skills were very accurate last night. Don't be careless. Divide into 2 teams. We'll start the search from the top floor, and you go to the first floor. Together we'll search the middle. Don't miss any room and check every window carefully. Remember what the military advisor said. Move quickly. Capture him. The thugs upstairs began to move, and soon there were dense footsteps in the corridor. Sui bit his lips tightly, with cold hatred flashing in his eyes. These guys, I didn't do anything, but they insisted on killing me. Lin Yu, you must survive. Whether for his own safety or for Lin Yu's safety, Sui at this moment extremely hopes that Lin Yu can live well. About 10 minutes later, da-da-da, another burst of gunfire came from downstairs. Damn, this woman is on the 2nd floor. The military advisor is dead. The military advisor is dead. Damn, the shooting is so accurate. It hit the head with one shot. Where is the 2nd floor? Have you caught it? Sui heard it. It seemed that Brotherly was rushing down from upstairs with his men, shouting and asking anxiously, "What happened to my military advisor?" Brotherly, the military advisor is gone. That woman is in the house on the right side of the 2nd floor. We searched this place before, and the door was not closed. Damn it.
Lao xong, lao xong.
What a bunch of losers. They can't even protect the military advisor. What are you doing standing there? Not even daring to rush in and arrest people. Brotherly, that woman is very evil, and her shooting skills are so accurate. There was chaos downstairs. Sui listened nervously for a long time, but no new gunshots were heard. Apparently, the thugs did not dare to chase into the room immediately, which gave Lin Yu time to escape, and they failed to catch Lin Yu. Damn it, there's no one here. Keep searching. Bitch, I'm going to cut her into pieces. Where's my grenade? Give it to me.
Brotherly, upstairs, da-da-da.
Da-da-da. There was a burst of gunfire, this time coming from the top floor. An unlucky guy was shot dead without even issuing a warning. Brotherly was almost going crazy. He led his men to rush upstairs from downstairs, but they were all empty-handed again. You bunch of rubbish. Hold her back. Hold her back and wait for me to come. Brotherly was almost mad with rage, but his men didn't say anything back and seemed to be very afraid of him. But they were also afraid of Lin Yu. The more they trembled, the greater their fear of Lin Yu became. This woman is elusive. She kills people when she shoots them and changes her position when she kills them. If you hesitate for a moment, you will lose your grasp on him. Moreover, this woman was very smart. She completely avoided Brotherly and only attacked the subordinates around Brotherly. Good, very good. Sui clenched his fists tightly. Sweat continued to pour out of his forehead, but he didn't notice it. He murmured nervously, Lin Yu did a good job. Don't run into this Lee guy. He must have a talent for fighting. Boss, it's 10:30 in the morning. Leah whispered a reminder from the side, and in order to avoid being discovered by the thugs outside the door, she almost spoke into Sui's ear. Sui looked up at the wall clock. It was partially hit by a stray bullet from last night. The main body was already in tatters, and one could only barely see the hands still ticking slowly. There are still 2 hours left. Sui clenched his teeth. The only thing he was worried about now was the reward effect of his talent. He was not sure whether the talent would really work. After all, it was only a talent reward for a level 0 shelter. Even if he was given the thing he needed most, what if it was useless? Or what if it could not solve the current predicament? That would really be a complete dead end. Sui had no better way. He could only pray in his heart, feeling extremely tormented. If only I had a better start. If only I hadn't had these thugs around me. Ugh.
Sui sighed deeply.
God gave him SSS-level talent, but also arranged such a group of crazy thugs around him. It is true that fortune and misfortune go hand in hand, and there is an unspeakable underlying fairness. Time passed by bit, and the sound of gunfire from both sides rang out continuously, rising and falling, erratic. Now, even Sui is not sure about Lin Yu's location. He also ventured to look out the window a few times, but did not see Lin Yu climbing. God knows how she did it, hiding like a ghost. The small residential building almost became Lin Yu's battlefield. However, Lin Yu is not invincible. She has been fighting a guerrilla war, avoiding direct conflict with the opponent and running away after fighting. During the guerrilla warfare, Sui heard the thugs passing by his door many times. Brotherly even suspected that Lin Yu had hidden back in the house and tried to break the door by force, but fortunately Li Ya's improvement skills were very strong and Brotherly returned empty-handed. He was so angry that he kicked the iron door several times. The two sides remained in a stalemate until 12:20. Just when the new rewards were about to be issued, a deafening roar suddenly came from the top of the building. Boom! The whole floor was shaking. Sui lost his balance and fell. He saw a lot of dust and debris falling from the ceiling. It's a grenade. Leah widened her beautiful eyes and almost lost her voice. The enemy used a grenade, which definitely means they caught Lin Yu. Is she dead? Is she dead? Sui gritted his teeth and climbed up. He looked at Leah, who shook her head silently. She didn't know that no one knew whether Lin Yu was dead or alive. After the grenade, a man's excited laughter could be faintly heard from upstairs. Ha 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 ha. Bitch, I can't kill you with my blast. Brotherly is awesome. I thought our building was going to collapse. This old building is really durable. It didn't collapse. Where is the woman? Where is the body? I don't know. It seems to have fallen down. Look for it quickly. I want to see the body even if I die. I want to whip the corpse. Ha 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 ha, Brotherly. Is that a serious corpse whipping? Line up, line up. I want one too. I want second one. The wild laughter of the thugs upstairs almost meant that they had one. After a morning of fighting, the woman was finally killed by them. Sui heard this and his whole body trembled uncontrollably, but not because of fear. He is angry. Lin Yu tried his best to delay time, but still died? These bastards. Give me what I need most. You can't lie to me. You made it very clear. Sui closed his eyes, muttering almost to himself, his fingers turning white from pinching his hands. I want the reward I need most. Give me what I need most. I need to kill someone. What I need most now is to kill someone. I'm going to kill these bastards. Congratulations. You have stayed in the shelter for 24 hours, triggering the talent reward. The stay time starts again. Chapter 15. Clean up the whole building. Kill them all. Congratulations. You have obtained the talent reward, D-level combat team card, consumable. Along with a message box with clear fonts flashing in front of Sui's eyes, a golden card fell into Sui's palm. This is a card about the size of a bank card, all gold in color, with the vague silhouettes of several soldiers engraved on it. At the top of the card, There is detailed information about the item. D-level combat team. Consumable. After use, it can randomly summon a technological combat team of 3 to 6 people. The strength of each member is fixed at D level, and the equipment is adaptive according to the number of people. The effect of this item only lasts for 2 hours. After the period, the combat team will take it back. Temporary summons. Minimum 3 D-level soldiers. Sui's eyes lit up. How strong the D-level soldier is has been fully demonstrated in Linyu. His combat effectiveness is almost comparable to that of a special forces soldier. A combat team of at least 3 people is enough to definitely annihilate this group of thugs. Call. Sui chose to use the card without hesitation, and suddenly a hazy golden light appeared around him. When the golden light dissipated, 6 special forces soldiers wearing full sets of armed equipment stood beside Sui, ready to go. They were all men, wearing special camouflage uniforms, combat boots, night vision goggles, grenades and navigators hanging around their waists, and holding black guns of varying lengths. Each of them has firm and sharp eyes, and exudes a well-trained, decisive temperament. Sui only took a quick glance and determined that the division of labor among these 6 people was very clear. There are battlefield medics carrying medical boxes, main attackers holding submachine guns, and teammates holding special rifles standing next to them, protecting the sniper holding a Barrett in the core position. 3 main attackers, a medic, a communication soldier, and a sniper. 6-man combat team, fully equipped. Chief. The leading charge saluted Sui. He wore a mask that only showed his eyes. He asked in a steady voice, "Sir, please give us the combat order. What is our combat mission?" Kill. Sui took a deep breath, and without hesitation, he raised his hand and pointed at the door. "There are people in this building who threaten our lives. Kill them all." "Yes." The warriors shouted in unison. "We will ensure the mission is accomplished." Liya, who was standing by, woke up in shock and quickly reminded. "There is another woman. Her name is Linyu. She is also a soldier. She is the leader's soldier. We must save her." The warriors looked at Sui, and Sui nodded. "Yes. Yes, sir." The leading warrior made a gesture, and the 6 warriors were divided into 2 groups and deployed in different formations. The signalman and sniper left the supplies through the window, put on the grappling hooks on their waists, and quickly went to the top floor opposite to set up the sniper position. The main attacker and the medical soldiers waited for Liya to open the iron gate, then took out the smoke bombs and threw them out. Snapped. The smoke exploded, and suddenly there were the panicked cries of the thugs squatting outside. "Brotherly, the iron gate is open. Damn, where does the smoke come from?" Da-da-da. A volley of bullets swept by, and the rioters' panic notification came to an abrupt end. The male soldiers gestured to each other, took tactical steps, and blended silently into the smoke. After a while, da-da-da, 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 dense and rhythmic gunshots rang out from outside the door. Every time a gunshot was heard, there was a dull sound of a body falling to the ground, and occasionally a scream was heard. This means that every enemy they discover basically has no time to issue a new warning and dies quickly and efficiently. As the warriors began their cleanup activities, the shouting of the rioters soon became known. "It's the enemy. Here they come again. A soldier? Holy shit, he really is a soldier. Is this the rescue team? Shit, they're killing our people. I surrender. I surrender. Don't kill me. Damn. This is definitely not a regular army. How dare they attack ordinary people? Fight back." The panicked sounds of the thugs continued to be heard outside the door, and from time to time there were also the sounds of stun bombs and smoke bombs exploding. During this time, the gunfire never stopped. At the same time, Sui also heard the occasional sniper sounds from the rooftop in the distance. Bang, bang. The sniper's shooting frequency is not high, but the power is extremely great. The Barrett's bullets can penetrate almost any obstacle. Even enemies hiding behind cover can be killed instantly with one strike, and will undoubtedly be exposed under the scanning of the thermal imaging device. Once the thugs were discovered by snipers, they would die on the spot. There's a sniper outside. Hi. Brotherly. Brotherly. Damn. Brotherly was shot in the head by a sniper. Brothers, run. There was a constant stream of chaotic noises coming from outside the door. It was obvious that with the cooperation of the 6 warriors, the mob outside was no match for them. Only the screams and panic of the thugs continued to be heard, and Sui did not hear the frustrated sounds of the warriors. He walked to the window and looked down to see many thugs covered in blood, running out of the building with fear on their faces. The sniper upstairs shot them one by one in the head, killing them all. In just a few moments, 7 or 8 bodies were lying downstairs, and the remaining survivors were forced to flee back into the building, where they continued to face the ruthless sweeps from submachine guns and rifles. Sui stood by the window, watching the scene indifferently. He felt a little uncomfortable. It was the first time he saw a dead person with his own eyes, and he was indeed uncomfortable, but this discomfort was soon replaced by the pleasure of revenge. After just a few breaths, Sui's discomfort disappeared, and he no longer felt anything. Have I adapted? Sui muttered to himself, his face still expressionless and without the slightest bit of joy. Lin Yu hasn't appeared yet, so he still suffered a loss. After 2 hours, the combat team will be recalled. Overall, it seems that he has not gained anything at all and can only vent his anger. The battle was cleared up very quickly, and soon a voice came from the communication headset left behind by the signalman. Commander, the threat has been eliminated. 5 people have been captured and surrendered, and the identities of some of them are uncertain. Please give your instructions, Commander. Let me go over and take a look. Sui took a deep breath and walked out of the house with me. This was his first time walking out of the shelter. If necessary, Sui didn't want to take a step out of the shelter. But things did not go as planned. The thugs forced him out of the shelter, and he was forced to fight back. Under the guidance of the signalman, Sui took Liya to the top floor. The corridors along the way were littered with corpses and blood. The pungent smell made Liya cover her nose involuntarily. On the contrary, Sui walked up the stairs on the pool of blood with an expressionless face. Boss, can you block it for a moment? This smell is too bad. No need. Didn't you tell me to learn to be cruel? Sui glanced at Liya and forced a smile. I think I need to adapt in advance. I'm afraid there will be more scenes like this in the future. Sui walked up silently and came to the top floor, where he saw that this floor was completely connected. The messy house was filled with the smell of blood and unsanitary stench. Garbage was scattered everywhere, and several headless corpses were lying on the ground. In the inner room, there were a dozen naked women, squatting in the corner with their heads in their hands, their faces filled with fear, and white, fishy traces still on their bodies. Chief, the rifleman guarding the female prisoners saluted Sui and reported in a low voice, the rebels have been killed. These women have no weapons and are suspected to have been captured by the bandits for their sexual gratification. Should they be killed too? Need not. Sui took a quick glance and saw a group of naked women without any weapons, with only despair and numbness on their faces. He even saw some familiar faces in it, including the running girl he had seen on his way to work before, the young woman next door who was taking her daughter to school, and the cleaning lady who worked in a nearby company. Without exception, all of them, whether adults or not, were killed. What about the rest? Sui retracted his gaze and looked at the rifleman, who pointed to the room opposite. There were several surrendered people who were being held there. No, I'm asking about Lin Yu, the female soldier. Sui stared at the rifleman. Have you found it? People have been arranged to continue the search, but no results have been found yet. The rifleman shook his head, and his answer disappointed Sui. Now that we haven't found the person yet, we guess he's in great danger. If Lin Yu had been hit head-on by the grenade, his body would probably not be intact. Sui was in a depressed mood. He ignored the group of female prisoners and walked straight to the room opposite. He saw the assaulter guarding 3 men. They squatted on the ground with fear on their faces. When the assaulter shouted, "Leader," they all looked up at Sui. "It's you." A man suddenly spoke up, looking at Sui with surprise. "You are Sui. Are you the resident downstairs? I know you. So I said I remember there was a man living downstairs." Sui looked at the man silently, frowned and said, "You? Are you the guy with the daughter? I remember your last name is Zhang?" Yes, it's me. I'm Lao Zheng." The man nodded disrespectfully, smiled, and tried to get closer to Sui, but was blocked by the gun. The assaulter's eyes were cold. "Watch your distance. Don't get close to the leader." Yes. Lao Zheng shrank back in fear and looked at Sui eagerly. "Sui, we are neighbors. There must be a misunderstanding here. Can you ask him to let me go? Where are your wife and daughter?" Sui answered irrelevantly and looked at Lao Zheng indifferently. Lao Zheng was stunned for a moment and lowered his head and said, I don't know. Are they next door? They have no clothes on. I saw them just now." Sui had a sarcastic smile on his face. "You can even sell your wife and children. I don't have a neighbor like you." "It's not like that, Sui. I can't beat that guy named Li." Old Zheng's face turned red. He tried to defend himself, but was choked by Suyi's next question. Didn't you sleep with other women? Did the man's surnamely let you sleep with other women? Old Zheng was stunned and remained silent. The answer is self-evident. In order to survive, he sold his wife and daughter. Suyi looked at him indifferently. I don't care about these, it's your family affair, but you want to kill me. Were you among those who attacked the goal last night? Lao Jing opened his mouth and wanted to defend himself, but then lowered his head dejectedly. Su-yi, I beg you, I really don't want to die. The scorching sun outside the window shone on Lao Zheng's back, making him almost faint from the heat. But the heat could not dispel the fear in his heart at the moment. God knows how the young man downstairs, who is usually unknown, suddenly has such an armed force. If he had known that Suyi was so powerful, he would not have joined the Li Guy. He would have followed Suyi a long time ago. What about Li? Suyi asked, and a man next to him quickly said, Boss, he's dead. The guy's surname Li was shot in the head. I saw it with my own eyes. Where is the body? He is not dead. Before Suyi finished asking, Lao Jing suddenly spoke, attracting Suyi's attention. What did you say? Suyi looked at Lao Zhang, frowned and asked, how do you know he is not dead? He is immortal. Lao Zhang looked up at Suyi, gritted his teeth, and decided to tell the secret. That guy is very strong. There is no way to kill him. Someone tried, but he was resurrected. His heart was stabbed and his head was chopped off, but he still survived. This guy is simply impossible to kill.